Ladies and gents, boys and girls, Friday, September the 22nd, 2023, TGIF. Happy Friday to each and every single one of you. Hope you're all doing well. It is officially game day eve as South Carolina prepares to take on Mississippi State in their SEC home opener, and we are officially live here on the Daily Crow. Of course, I'm Chris Phillips, your host of TDC of the Spurs Up Show. As always, appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. I see Justin Bryant, John Edward, Justice, Xavier, Brendan, Ethan K, Noah Johns, Travi, Madison Duncan. Also, by the way, I saw my guy Noah Johns got his towel in the mail this morning. Guys, all of you that ordered Beamer Ball towels ahead of tomorrow's game against Mississippi State, you should be receiving those by end of day today. So be sure to be checking your tracking numbers and checking the mailbox, of course, because you should be receiving those towels by end of day today. Guys, we have got a jam-packed show, lot to get into here on this Friday. Of course, in our third hour, we have our Q&A Power Hour. I want to hear from you, your questions, your comments, your calls at 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Taking all of your questions, your comments, and your calls really on this Friday. I want to hear your predictions, your last-minute thoughts. How is South Carolina going to fare in tomorrow night's game against Mississippi State? In hour number 2, we have my good friend Jake Crain of Crain and Company. Of course, guys, Jake always brings the heat on game day eve. Really excited to get Jake's thoughts on what happened in week 3 when the Gamecocks fell to Georgia. And, of course, look ahead to this weekend's game against Mississippi State, the entire SEC. And really, guys, a packed college football weekend upcoming. And, of course, guys, in this first hour, it is Prediction Friday. I'll lock in my prediction for South Carolina, Mississippi State. Also, SEC pick'em picks for every single SEC game. And also, I'll lock in my prize picks plays of the weekend. We have got, like I mentioned, guys, a jam-packed show, a lot to get into. Before we get started, though, just a couple of quick reminders. First thing, we will be selling merchandise on hand tomorrow outside of Williams-Brice Stadium, specifically at 1212 Bluff Road, the S&G parking lot, right next to Waffle House, right outside of Willie B. I will post a picture and post, something for you guys to inform you all, again, exactly where my guy is and where you can find the merchandise. But we will have things on hand. I mean, literally everything you can think of. We're going to have T-shirts, hats, towels, koozies, stickers. We're going to have the Beamer Ball Tervis cups. So much merchandise on hand for you guys to purchase. Also, by the way, my good friends, the Petersons over at Carolina Cigars, they will be in that same parking lot, that S&G parking lot. Again, 1212 Bluff Road, same place, selling the Mississippi State packs or the dog packs or whatever you want to label them. The victory packs will be on sale, guys. I've got mine on deck in my humidor, of course, but be sure you get your dog packs. And by the way, guys, just hit them up to get your cigars for throughout the season and beyond as well. The only place I get my cigars is Carolina Cigars. But, guys, you can pick yours up in person tomorrow outside of Williams-Brice Stadium. And, by the way, guys, we will be selling merchandise from noon till 6 p.m. Eastern. So now you know when you can swing by, when you can see our guy Dave, get your merch. Again, that's 1212 Bluff Road at the S&G parking lot right next to Waffle House outside of Williams-Brice Stadium. Be sure to get your merch and get your cigars on game day. Lynn Turner asked the question, Chris, I wasn't here yesterday. What's the new schedule for Monday? Yes, really quickly, Lynn, before we dive into everything. In case you missed this, this is the final day of the 3-hour shows and the format in which we operate. Beginning on Monday, we will be eliminating the Q&A Power Hour portion of the show. Instead, what we will be doing is we will be operating more of a traditional schedule to where we will, talk our number of topics, whatever, in hour number 1, have our guests hour number 2. The only questions we'll take Monday through Thursday are either super chats on YouTube or the Big Cock Club Discord banter in the TDC Questions channel. On Fridays, so right now, what this would be, we will have a devoted hour long, and hour number 1, it'll be our Friday mailbag episode. Okay? So we will take questions, comments, calls, sort of like your traditional TDC. But TDC will be going noon to 2, and we're going to condense all of the questioning and all the questions to one segment on Friday. So that's the biggest change at TDC, guys. Again, we're going back to the noon to 2 slate, the noon to 2 schedule. The schedule will be content in hour number 1, guest interviews in hour number 2, and that's how we'll go Monday through Friday. And, of course, in Fridays, hour number 1 will be our Q&A power hour, if you will. Our Friday mailbag is what I'm calling it segment. So, the big news from that, Lynn, we are just eliminating the Q&A power hour. And, of course, there's some downtime in the show. If you got a question you really want to ask, or you got an opinion you really want to get out there, you can super chat it to us. You can join the Big Cock Club Discord, and we'll take those questions. But other than that, guys, we will not be taking any calls Monday through Thursday. But, again, you still have opportunities to call on Fridays and in the post-game call-in show as well. So, again, that's the way we're operating starting on Monday. And if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns regarding that, please reach out to me directly. Either way, with that being said, it is Prediction Friday. South Carolina, Mississippi State, under the lights at Williams-Brice Stadium in what feels like a do-or-die situation for really both of these teams. You know, you look at Mississippi State. We all knew in a period of transition, right? RIP, the late, great Mike Leach and the impact of the Pirate, not just on Mississippi State, but on college football as well. A really, really unfortunate situation because you talk to those around Starkville, right? We had our guy Stingray Steve on, the most notable Mississippi State fan I'd probably say that you're going to meet. And he mentioned that State fans were expecting, had Mike Leach not passed, that this was probably going to be a 9 or 10 win football team. At least those were going to be the expectations. I mean, guys, you got to think Mississippi State won 9 games last year. Like, this is a program that was on really solid footing. And nobody could have seen it coming, what happened with Mike Leach. Insert Zach Arnett into the head coaching spot. You know, I think for the situation and what Mississippi State needed in that moment, right? Someone who was familiar with the program and was going to be, I think, almost sensitive to the situation. I think Zach Arnett was a great call by them. But to say there's been a transition is putting it lightly. And we're specifically talking about the offensive side of the football. Will Rogers has not looked like himself. This offense has been discombobulated from the jump. And we knew that there was going to be a transition. But I'm not sure any of us knew it'd be this drastic. And so you look at Mississippi State. Take care of Southeast Louisiana in week 1. Get a nice win over Arizona, but a win that you won the turnover margin 5-1 and still had to go to overtime to get that W. And, of course, that game being on your home field. And then last week happened. And LSU left no room to hide and exposed all of the deficiencies and weaknesses and really put it on grand display how much things are out of sorts in Starkville. And you look at their schedule, guys. Mississippi State has Alabama upcoming next weekend. And the slate, simply put, just gets no easier. So if they're going to stay afloat, if they're going to keep this season respectable, if you will, get to 6 wins, get to a bowl game, this feels like a pretty important ball game for Mississippi State. And guys, State fans are already out, some of them, on Zach Arnett. Like, the energy, the emotions are running high for Bulldog fans. Then you look at the South Carolina perspective. And I do, guys, the reason we're having this conversation, I do think it's a fascinating conversation of who needs this game more, if you will, because I think both sides have their own claim to that. But you look from the Gamecocks perspective. And there have been some encouraging signs early in this season, right? The play of Spencer Rattler jumps out immediately. Xavier Legette breaking out and becoming a big-time dude at the wide receiver position. You know, many folks feel as if the defense maybe has taken some steps forward and is giving South Carolina chances to win ball games. But the bottom line is this: it has led to a 1-2 record, an embarrassing week 1 loss to North Carolina, and your only win on the season came against an FCS foe in Furman. Now, South Carolina obviously showed some encouraging signs last weekend against the Georgia Bulldogs in that 24-14 loss. But you look at what's ahead for South Carolina, guys. At Tennessee at night, a game against Florida that, you know, we once thought was kind of a kick in. Now, not so sure about that with the way Florida looked against Tennessee. At Missouri, who's undefeated right now and seems to be on the up and up with Eli Drinkwitz. At Texas A&M, a team that, you know, I understand they had that ugly loss to Miami, but still a team loaded with talent, a place at Kyle Field you never won. Things can get really, really sideways if South Carolina does not find a way to protect the home field and win this football game under the lights at Willie B, a place they've been so good over the last couple of years. Now, I've caught a lot of hell about this game because you might recall, I'll take you back to July before we look ahead of tomorrow night. I picked Mississippi State to win this football game, to beat South Carolina. I believe the final score was something like 23-17. I had the Bulldogs winning. But let me paint the picture for you in that one. Number one, I did not think Mississippi State in the transition offensively was going to be this drastic. I did not think Will Rogers was going to look as porous as he's looked at this point. That's number one. Number two, I did not have South Carolina losing to UNC out the gate. I thought the Gamecocks would take care of the Tar Heels and be 2-1 at this point. And I saw this game being sort of a sleepy nooner at Willie B. And maybe South Carolina was overlooking the Bulldogs, and you know, Mississippi State come in and sneak up on the Gamecocks. And the Gamecocks sort of had that one-off game where they sleepwalk through it and State come in and pull the upset. Well, as you all know, or as you should know, my picks are subject to change from when we locked them in early July to when we get to the week of the game, because new information presents itself. There are new situations. There are new things that come to the forefront that influence these picks and these predictions. So let me make it very clear. When I looked at South Carolina's schedule, I never had the Gamecocks losing to both North Carolina and Mississippi State. I thought those were two games that South Carolina was going to, at worst, split. I did not think they would lose both. Does that mean South Carolina cannot or will not lose this football game? It does not mean that. But that was my school of thinking and why I picked that upset in the first place. Now, bringing it back to current day, bringing it back to this game tomorrow night. This game terrifies me. Absolutely terrifies me. Because we've been in this position before. I've seen this happen before. And if you haven't, you're either not being honest with yourself or you haven't been watching Gamecock football long enough. Because you come into a game like this, South Carolina's favored, the game is at home, and everyone, you won't find one person in Gamecock Nation who's picking Mississippi State to win this football game. I haven't heard even a Gamecock fan give me one reason why the Bulldogs could win this football game, and that terrifies me. Admittedly, I almost am at a point where I like when South Carolina is the underdog because for whatever reason, the Gamecocks seem to embrace that role and play well in that role. Normally, usually, When South Carolina plays their worst, it's when they are expected to win in situations like this. Now, Mississippi State is a discombobulated mess on the offensive side. The one thing they have going for them is their running back and their running game, led by Woody Marks, who is leading the SEC in rushing at 325 total yards. And despite what some may tell you, stopping the run matters. And not being able to run the football and not being able to stop the run, it's not a recipe for great success. South Carolina must make Mississippi State one-dimensional and limit the run game. Put this game on the right arm of Will Rogers and make him show that, and make Kevin Barbay show, make this offense show that they figured some things out from last week, because I'm banking on the fact they have not. The running ability of Woody Marks terrifies me. The lack of running game and an offensive line that I still don't trust right now terrifies me. I thought South Carolina showed great encouraging signs in last week's game against Georgia. But as I told you guys over the summer, and I'll say it yet again, what scares me is this. When you have the problems that South Carolina has on both lines of scrimmage, that leads to great inconsistencies. It leads to maddening results at times on a week-in, week-out basis. And I fear that this might be a game where that takes place, where we're looking up tomorrow night, guys, 11 o'clock rolls around. We're in the post-game call-in show, and we're sitting here going, what the hell just happened? Who was that team on the field? That wasn't the same team that went to Athens, because you know it as well as I do. We've been in that spot. This is a spot all too familiar for South Carolina football. And again, my fear is that at some point, not being able to run the football and not being able to stop the run, it's going to bite you in the rear end in the SEC, guys. You can't make a living doing that on a week-in, week-out basis. You just can't. And it hasn't worked out all that well to this point because you're 1-2 and you don't have a win over a Power 5 team. That being said, when you have a quarterback, when you look at the quarterback matchup in this one, I looked at this game and thought, Rattler versus Will Rogers, what a great quarterback duel this is shaping up to be. I don't really think we're getting that. It's kind of unfortunate. But it undoubtedly favors the Gamecock side of things. Because the way Spencer Rattler is locked in right now, guys, if they can give him any sort of help up front, if they can give him even a semblance of help in the running game, the beauty of this is, and what you got to love if you're wearing garnet and black, South Carolina's strength is Mississippi State's weakness. The Gamecocks are 8th nationally in passing offense, tops in the SEC. And Mississippi State allows 277 yards per game through the air. Now, can Spencer Rattler do exactly what Jaden Daniels did last week? I don't think he has to, guys. I don't think he has to. But the blueprint is there, right? The game plan is laid out. This is a defense that, again, if Spencer Rattler, and as long as Spencer Rattler gets time to operate, I'm not saying he needs 5 seconds to throw, but it can't be a jailbreak all night long. As long as he gets time to operate and maneuver, I don't see any reason why South Carolina offensively should not be able to have success through the air. But the question remains, can you find any semblance of balance? Or do you have to continue to use the short, quick passing game, getting the ball in the perimeter, substituting that for the run game? Because here's the thing. Mississippi State might be a discombobulated mess offensively, but defensively, and I know their secondary is not good, but defensively, I mean, Zach Arnett's this team's head football coach. He's the DC. He was their defensive coordinator. So you would think to yourself, if one thing is going to be on point for them, it's going to be the defensive side of the football. They got a pair of great linebackers and Jet Johnson and Nathaniel Watson. I mean, guys, two of the best in the SEC. And they've got enough talent up front to disrupt what South Carolina wants to do and make this game sort of messy. Defensively, as I mentioned, Woody Marks, you got to stop him. You got to slow him down. You got to find a way to stop the run. I most want to see two guys from the South Carolina football team. Is this a game in which the Gamecocks get back to their roots of opportunistic plays defensively and forcing turnovers and making big plays in special teams? Because we have not seen that. And it's normally in these games at home, at night, with the wave of emotion, right? We've typically seen South Carolina get those types of big plays, right? It's normally these environments where it's almost like the atmosphere and the environment that the fan base creates at Willie B. It's like it impacts the opponent. It shakes the other team. And it's like it forces the ball to bounce the way of South Carolina more times than not. This is a massive game for South Carolina, guys. When we talked earlier about who is this bigger for, I got to go with the Carolina perspective because you know what? Year one of Zach Arnett, I mean, everybody knew it was a tough transition. And Mississippi State fans were up in arms, but they lose this one. They're back to 500. It is what it is. I think they could still get to 6 wins. If you're South Carolina, if you lose this football game and you fall to 1-3, guys, getting to a bowl game all of a sudden becomes a very difficult task because it gets no easier. I mean, you have Murderer's Row upcoming in your schedule. This game terrifies me. It really does. I've got a sick feeling in my stomach when I talk about this game, when I look at this game, when I see this game. But I will not allow my Gamecock PTSD to make me look past the fact that Mississippi State is a bit of a train wreck right now offensively. Will Rogers is just not the guy right now. He's not confident. He's not the guy that we've grown accustomed to seeing, the record setter in Starkville. I think they're going to lean on Woody Rogers all night long. I think he's going to have some success, guys, because newsflash, the Gamecocks do struggle against the run. I think you could see Woody Marks go over the 150 mark. Right? I think you're going to see them go to him early and often. And are we up to Clayton White to scheme to key in on the run? Get Rodgers in some uncomfortable situations. Take Tulo Griffin away as much as possible on the outside. And get Mississippi State in a position where they're reeling once again, similar to what you saw against LSU. I think you're going to see the Gamecocks live through the air. I think South Carolina, as this season goes, you know, we talk about finding balance and how important it is. I think this is a football team that's going to embrace who it is. I think Dabble Loggins, the one thing he's done really, really well, he's done a couple of things well, right? But the thing I've been most impressed with is I feel like he is getting the football in the hands of the playmakers. Like, I don't think he's trying to put a square peg in a round hole. Like, this guy is operating within the means of what they can do. He's not going to try to jam it up the middle 50 times. They ran it 16 times against Georgia, guys. You know why? Because they couldn't run it. Flat out, they couldn't run it. So Dabble Loggins took it upon himself. You know what? If we got to call 50 passing plays to win, that's what we will do. I think you see Spencer Rattler have a big night through the air. I think Xavier Legette does what he does best. I think South Carolina's offensive line does continue to take steps forward. I don't think it's going to be perfect by any means, but I think you're going to continue to see young talent like Big True Babalade, Trovon Bowe. Those guys continue to emerge and make an impact. I think you see the tight ends get more involved in this one as well in the passing game. I think South Carolina wins with the passing game. They're going to be one-dimensional, but you know what? That dimension goes up against Mississippi State's weakness, and I think Spencer Rattler will expose that. So expect a big night from Spencer Rattler through the air. I think defensively, I think Mississippi State's going to be able to run the football, but I think the Gamecocks will do just enough. I think it's going to be one of those vintage South Carolina performances where at home, at night, this team has their backs against the wall. because you cannot fall to 1-3. You cannot lose this football game with what lies ahead. I think South Carolina, because of that, when they have their backs against the wall, they play their best football. I think South Carolina is able to force a couple of turnovers. I'm not surprised if they make a big play in special teams. And I think South Carolina pulls away late in this one to secure a double-digit victory and get their first SEC win of the season. Lock me in. Give me Gamecocks 34, Mississippi State 24. And what I think is going to be a really fun back-and-forth matchup. I do think Mississippi State, they've heard all week about how they're dead, how they're no good. I think they'll play much better. But at the end of the day, South Carolina's strength against Mississippi State's weakness. Give me Spencer Rattler every single day of the week and twice on Saturday night, because I think he's going to light up that Mississippi State secondary. And again, I think the Gamecocks defensively and special teams make a couple of big plays, do just enough for Carolina to get a much, much needed win on the home field. Guys, that being said, let's jump into our first break of the day. On the other side, we'll keep the conversation rolling here on this Friday. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. The Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Carolina Cigars. Carolina Cigars has been in operation since 2008, recently taken over by the Peterson family in 2020. Whether you're new to the cigar scene or whether you've been enjoying cigars your entire life, Carolina Cigars has the expertise and knowledge to make your visit to their shop enjoyable. Stop by for a fine cigar and experience their classic cigar lounge, where people come together, share conversations, and become friends. So if you're into cigars and you're on Hilton Head Island, you really do need to go by and see them. They offer same-day shipping nationwide, free delivery island-wide for weddings and all special occasions. They're also proud to offer premium cigars at 9 outside humidor locations around Hilton Head Island, and they have special events throughout the year as well. They want to talk to you. They want to engage. They want to share with you their cigar selection they're very proud of and their beautiful cigar lounge. When you're in the Low Country, there's only one place for cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, and there's only one place I get my cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, Hilton Head Island's premier cigar merchant. Come and share your passion. It's all here at Carolina Cigars. Give them a follow on Instagram at Carolina_cigars, or give them a call today at 843-681-8600. That's 843-681-8600. Smoke them if you got them, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya. The Daily Crow is also brought to you by our friends over at A1 Air Quality Consultants. Headaches, coughing, running nose while in the office or just in your home, call A1 Air Quality Consultants to have your air checked today. From Columbia to Asheville, Anderson to Charlotte, they are your breath of fresh air for all of your air quality needs. Be sure to give them a call or shoot them a text today at 864-619-2092. That's 864-619-2092. You can also contact them via email at a1airqualityconsultants@gmail.com. Be sure to check them out. We thank A1 Air Quality Consultants for their love and support of the Spurs Up Show, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya.
That's your Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Friday, September the 22nd, 2023. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in on this Prediction Friday. In case you missed it, I've got South Carolina with the 34-24 victory in tomorrow night's game. A packed weekend of college football upcoming. With that being said, let's continue the conversation. My Week 4 SEC Pick'em. Again, a packed slate of games as SEC play really begins to get rolling. Really only a couple of non-conference games on the slate. And, of course, we'll talk about those as well. Week 4 SEC Pick'em begins in College Station, Texas, as the Texas A&M Aggies take on the Auburn Tigers at noon kick on ESPN, noon Eastern. That is a huge game for the likes of Jimbo Fisher, guys. This is one he has to have after the early season loss to Miami. Auburn is a really, really dangerous team in this football game, right? Hugh Freeze comes in. They got nothing to lose. Nobody's expecting Auburn to win this game, although the spread is 7.5. But you're a first-year head coach. You're going into College Station. All of the pressure is on Jimbo and Bobby Petrino to make sure this thing clicks. In a fight, I like going with the man who has nothing to lose and who is willing to die, because that's normally the man who's going to win. With that being said, you look at this matchup. It is sort of weakness on weakness when you look at Auburn's offense against Texas A&M's defense. Neither one of them very good. My question is, can Auburn offensively keep up with Texas A&M? Because, you know, for some of the early season woes, of course, guys, we look back at that loss in Coral Gables, which I think we might look back honestly and say, and I know some of you will say I'm drinking the Texas A&M Kool-Aid, but I think we might look back and say that loss wasn't as bad as it first appeared, because I do think Miami's a pretty solid team. But for all the early season woes, Texas A&M's got this thing rolling on offense, right? Connor Wegman, Anaya Smith, Evan Stewart, what they've got in the running game. I just don't know that Auburn's going to be able to keep up with Texas A&M offensively. I think this is a back-and-forth game, a really, really fun game early especially. I do think Texas A&M will pull away. Would not surprise me if they hit the over, or if they covered the number, the 7.5. I'm not touching that. No, straight up, I've got Texas A&M getting this W. This is a must-win for Jimbo Fisher. They've got to have it. And I think on the home field, I think they will avoid a scare. I do think Auburn is going to scare Texas A&M, but I've got Texas A&M pulling away and winning this football game and getting a much-needed win. Kentucky travels to Vanderbilt, a noon kick on SEC Network. Commodores looking to bounce back after a really tough game against UNLV. Meanwhile, Kentucky, you know, it's interesting, guys, with Kentucky. This is a team that, you know what, you can hate on their scheduling all you want, but I wish South Carolina would do this. 3 straight cupcake non-conference games to open the season. And Kentucky's just sort of kind of nobody's talking about them. They're kind of just skating through the season, sitting at 3-0, what have you. No big deal. Now you jump into SEC play, but against a Vandy team, guys, that I'm officially out on. I'm out on Vandy. I don't see them winning an SEC game. I like Clark Lee a lot, but man, I mean, they really dropped the ball against the likes of Wake Forest and then UNLV. UNLV. This is a team that's comprised of A.J. Swan, Will Shepherd, Jade McGowan, and who else? Who else? I mean, really nobody, right? Kentucky, I think, with Devin Leary, Ray Davis, those guys offensively have had a couple of weeks to get their feet under them. I think they're rolling. I think they're clicking. And I think defensively, they will be able to corral and tame the attack of what A.J. Swan and his weapons present, guys. I think Kentucky, and you got to think about this too, the revenge factor, right? Vanderbilt went into Lexington and beat Kentucky last year, which is crazy to think about right now. I think Kentucky will go into Nashville, and I don't think Kentucky just wins. I think they win big. I love Mark Stoops and the Wildcats. I'm still high on Kentucky. I think Kentucky has a real claim to argue that they are the second best team in the SEC East. And the reason nobody's talking about them is they've played 3 cupcakes to open the year. I think Kentucky's going to move to 4-0. I think they're going to stay undefeated. I think you're going to see we're going to start talking a lot more about Kentucky in these coming weeks because I think they're going to show why they caught so much hype in the preseason. I think offense shines in this one. I think defense is dominant. I think they will roll against Vanderbilt. We go to Tuscaloosa. Arguably the game of the weekend, not just in the SEC, but college football as well, as the Alabama Crimson Tide host the Ole Miss Rebels, a 3:30 kick on CBS. And this has got to be Ole Miss's best chance to take down Alabama in Tuscaloosa in their history. They've won there a grand total of 2 times, guys. The first was back in 1988. And the last was 2015 when Hugh Freeze was the head coach of Ole Miss and Chad Swag Kelly did the unthinkable and beat the Crimson Tide. That actually made it back-to-back wins for Ole Miss, 14 and 15 to beat them back-to-back years. This is such an intriguing game for Lane Kiffin because he's unfortunately got the label of, he can't win the big game. Like, it kind of always falls short. Like, Ole Miss is always the bridesmaid, never the bride in these type of situations, man. Then there's Alabama, though. Like, what is going on in Tuscaloosa, right? Because the game against South Florida was, let's just call it, less than encouraging, right? When you look at what took place and, just an abysmal performance. Now you slide Jalen Milroe back at the quarterback position. What is Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator, doing? Alabama spent all offseason. We're going to play bully ball. We're going to beat our opponents into submission. You couldn't even beat South Florida into submission. What are you talking about? Line of scrimmage is an issue on both sides of the football. They don't know who's playing quarterback. They can't even make up their own mind. Here comes Jackson Dart. Here comes Quinshon Judkins. Here comes that array of weapons that Ole Miss has. Here comes, by the way, here's a storyline a bit under the radar. How about the old DC at Alabama? Here comes Peter Golding. Here comes Pete Golding in Alabama. You think he wouldn't like to stick it to Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide? You don't think Lane Kiffin wouldn't like to stick it to Nick Saban? You don't think Lane Kiffin's been talking to Steve Sarkisian about how to take down Alabama at their place? Been a lot of conversation. There's been gamesmanship happening this week with Lane Kiffin talking about Nick Saban's coaching staff. This is such an intriguing game for a number of different reasons. That being said, guys, if this game was in Oxford, I'm picking Ole Miss. I'll tell you right now. But it's one thing to beat Alabama. It is another to go into Tuscaloosa, because if Alabama loses this one, guys, ding dong, the witch is dead. It is over for Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide in this season. It might be a 7-5 year. It might be an 8-4 year. Like, it's over. Forget it. Nick Saban, Steve Spurrier retirement tour style, dunzo. He's cooked. That's what's at stake, and that's what's on the line. Is Alabama up front in the trenches able to have some success against this Ole Miss defensive front? Is Tommy Rees going to use Jalen Milroe the way he should be used, utilizing his athleticism, not asking him to go out there and throw it 40 times? Obviously, he can spin the rock. Obviously, he's made strides from last year. As I said, it's one thing to beat Alabama. It's another to go into Tuscaloosa and kill the Wicked Witch of the West. I think it's asking too much of Ole Miss. I think it's asking too much of Lane Kiffin. I think Alabama at home, Jalen Milroe was named the starting quarterback from the jump. He should have never been taken out. I don't know what Nick Saban, Tommy Rees, what have you, what they are thinking, but they've got the right guy back in there now. And I think Alabama at home in a position where Ole Miss is obviously the sexy upset pick. They are obviously the trendy pick. I think Bama's going to find a way. I don't know if they cover the number, guys. Actually, yes, I do, because I've got them covering the number. But this is a game that just screams everybody's going to the Ole Miss side. I think Bama reminds folks, hey, we might be a discombobulated mess ourselves. We might have some issues, but you know what? We've still got an incredible amount of talent, and Ole Miss, pipe down. You're not there yet. You're not there yet. Give me Alabama to protect their home field, Jalen Milroe to be a difference maker, and the Crimson Tide to take down Ole Miss. We move to Knoxville. Tennessee taking on UTSA. 3:30 kick on CBS. Of course, the Volunteers still licking their wounds from the loss to the Florida Gators last weekend in the Swamp. And, of course, Tennessee in this ball game preparing for South Carolina next weekend as they'll host the Gamecocks under the lights at Neyland Stadium. UTSA starting quarterback being out in this game, or most likely being out, makes this matchup a lot less interesting. Also, the fact that Tennessee lost last weekend, there was absolutely 0% chance that the Volunteers are overlooking this matchup against UTSA, because this was one, guys, in the preseason labeled as, oh, this is a trap game. This is a sexy upset pick. UTSA. Guys, UTSA just lost to Army. They just lost to Army. Now, with that being said, how does it look for Tennessee? Because as 3-touchdown favorites and after losing to Florida, I don't know that Tennessee could win by enough, guys. I really don't. The fascinating part about this game isn't whether Tennessee wins or loses. I mean, if they did lose, that'd be wild. But it's not really about I'm watching because I want to see if Tennessee's going to lose, because I've got Tennessee winning this football game, guys. I think they are going to win. I think Tennessee bounces back at home, takes care of business. But Joe Milton in the offensive side. And if Joe Milton struggles, do the cries for Nico begin? Because this is an important game for Tennessee. Not just to get a W in the win column, but this is an important game for Tennessee to prepare for next week. Because every player on that team, every coach on that coaching staff, every person involved with that program, every fan that wears the orange and white, they want to kick South Carolina's ass. They don't want to win. They want to win by 50. And you ain't going to win by 50 playing like they played last week. So for Tennessee, it's about getting it rolling. It's about Joe Milton continuing to build confidence. It's about the line of scrimmage, offensive line. And I put a lot on Joe Milton, but he wasn't the main problem. They couldn't run the football. They couldn't stop the run. It's about getting back to that, and Tennessee getting back to form in their front seven. So I think Tennessee wins, but it's more about, is it an encouraging victory? Does Tennessee go out there and take care of business, win by 4 touchdowns? Or is this one they have to grind out and Tennessee fans are left asking more questions leaving the football game? LSU hosting the Arkansas Razorbacks in the Battle of the Golden Boot. This is always such a fun game, man. I mean, who can forget, guys, if you're a college football fan, you remember the Darren McFadden and LSU matchups and Arkansas beating them in double overtime. Like, there's been some really, really fun games in this series. 7 o'clock kick on ESPN. LSU is a big, big favorite in this football game, and rightfully so, right? Arkansas loses to BYU, hasn't looked great thus far on this season. And not having Rocket Sanders has been a big part of that. What a great quarterback matchup that nobody's talking about, right? KJ Jefferson against Jaden Daniels. This game under the lights in Death Valley. Bayou Bengals hosting this thing. I think this game is closer than expected because it is a rivalry. I don't think Arkansas is as bad as what we saw against BYU. I don't know that LSU is quite as good as what we saw against Mississippi State. That being said, I do expect the Tigers to take care of business. I do expect the Tigers to get the dub. I think they'll protect the home field. But do not be surprised if you look up in the late third quarter and this one's a lot closer than you expected. Arkansas covers the 17.5, but I do have LSU getting the victory in this football game. Florida hosting the Charlotte 49ers. 7 o'clock kick on ESPN Plus. I had to double check. I was like, there's no way that game's on ESPN. ESPN Plus is where you can check the Gators and Charlotte. I got Florida winning this game. I think they continue to build momentum, guys. I think Florida will flex their muscles, lean on the running game. Trevor Etienne, big night for him. Montrell Johnson, Graham Mertz, I think. You're going to continue to see him be sort of the game manager and, limit mistakes and just not lose Florida the football game. I think Gators will roll in this one. Austin Armstrong's defense, I think, will absolutely suffocate Charlotte. I think Florida rolls to a big, big win. Georgia taking on UAB, a 7:30 kickoff on ESPN2. Dogs get a night game. What do you know? And again, this is a game where Georgia, non-conference ball game, right? They're a 42 or something point favorite. They're going to win the football game, but it's about how it looks because you've got Auburn looming next weekend. You got the Auburn Tigers looming next weekend. And so does Carson Beck get going? Is Georgia able to sit some guys and rest some guys and finally get healthy? I think that's the big question we have, right? Do they get the running game going more so? Does Carson Beck take more shots downfield? What does the offensive and defensive lines look like? That's what it comes down to. But Georgia, I think, will roll. They're going to win this one and win this one big. And I do think you're going to continue to see Mike Bobo and company. And does Georgia start quicker? That's the other thing. They have started so slow, guys, throughout this season. I think you see Georgia get off to a much quicker start. Home game in Athens. I think the home faithful will be fired up for this one. Georgia rolls to a big, big victory at Sanford. And finally, guys, Missouri, after that big win over Kansas State, they take on the Memphis Tigers, a 7:30 kick on ESPNU. Guys, Mizzou burned me last week when I picked Kansas State because I didn't trust Missouri, right? I didn't trust Mizzou. But this is a new Mizzou with Eli Drinkwitz and the way that Brady Cook is playing and what have you. But you know what? I still don't trust Mizzou, man. I just don't. I do not trust Mizzou. And now we're hearing that Brady Cook's probably out for the football game. Here comes the Missouri letdown, man. Here comes the Missouri. I hope I'm wrong because I think it's a fun story, right? Seeing an SEC team like a Mizzou. I think it's fun seeing them make some noise, some chaos in the SEC. But I just don't buy it. I just don't buy Missouri right now, guys. No Brady Cook, no victory. I think Memphis is going to be able to give Mizzou some problems. And until Eli Drinkwitz, hey, listen, you have my word. Mizzou wins this one, I'll start giving a lot more credit to what they're doing, what the yellow and black are doing, gold and black, if you will, are doing up there in Como. But I think Memphis comes in, night game in Como. I do not think it will matter. I think Missouri, a mistake game, a mistake-filled game for them. I think this one could be high score, but I've got Memphis in the upset. I think they pull the upset in Como. I think they take down the Tigers in a really disappointing game, but a game that we are all too familiar with for the Missouri Tigers. So, a packed slate of SEC football in Week 4 as we continue to learn a lot about each of these individual teams moving forward. Guys, that being said, let's jump into another quick break. On the other side, we'll keep the conversation rolling here on this Friday. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. The Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Carolina Cigars. Carolina Cigars has been in operation since 2008, recently taken over by the Peterson family in 2020. Whether you're new to the cigar scene or whether you've been enjoying cigars your entire life, Carolina Cigars has the expertise and knowledge to make your visit to their shop enjoyable. Stop by for a fine cigar and experience their classic cigar lounge where people come together, share conversations, and become friends. So if you're into cigars and you're on Hilton Head Island, you really do need to go by and see them. They offer same-day shipping nationwide, free delivery island-wide for weddings and all special occasions. They're also proud to offer premium cigars at 9 outside humidor locations around Hilton Head Island, and they have special events throughout the year as well. They want to talk to you. They want to engage. They want to share with you their cigar selection they're very proud of and their beautiful cigar lounge. When you're in the Low Country, there's only one place for cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, and there's only one place I get my cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, Hilton Head Island's premier cigar merchant. Come and share your passion. It's all here at Carolina Cigars. Give them a follow on Instagram at Carolina_cigars, or give them a call today at 843-681-8600. That's 843-681-8600. Smoke them if you got them, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya. The Daily Crow is also brought to you by our friends over at A1 Air Quality Consultants. Headaches, coughing, running nose while in the office or just in your home, call A1 Air Quality Consultants to have your air checked today. From Columbia to Asheville, Anderson to Charlotte, they are your breath of fresh air for all of your air quality needs. Be sure to give them a call or shoot them a text today at 864-619-2092. That's 864-619-2092. You can also contact them via email at a1airqualityconsultants@gmail.com. Be sure to check them out. We thank A1 Air Quality Consultants for their love and support of the Spurs Up Show, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya.
Muscle Dougie Ho.
Ladies and gents, boys and girls, we are back here on this Friday, September the 22nd. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Do not forget that in our third hour, we have our Q&A Power Hour, taking all of your questions, comments, calls. Guys, if you can't call in that third hour, go ahead and leave us a voicemail, and we will play that to kick off the third hour of the show. Also, of course, guys, coming up in about 20 minutes or so, we got my good friend Jake Crain of Crain and Company, taking his time to talk all things Gamecocks, SEC, college football, everything in between, guys. And let me, by the way, take a moment to continue to say thank you all so much for your love and support on the podcast side of the business. And, numbers continue to go up. I cannot say thank you enough, guys. We are on pace to, and we are going to 110% going to shatter records yet again. I'm absolutely thrilled with the way things are going with the podcast side of things. And I cannot say thank you enough for you guys tuning in to not just this show, but the podcast version of the show as well. That being said, let's keep the conversation rolling, guys. My favorite prize picks plays heading into a jam-packed week 4 slate. And we start in the, Pac-12, Pac-4, whatever you guys want to call it. Either way, we start on the West Coast. Southern Cal travels to Arizona State. And guys, any over with Caleb Williams is a good over. Because that dude is automatic offense. He is a walking big game. He's probably on pace to win the Heisman yet again. 300.5 passing yards. Give me the over on Caleb Williams. It's a 10:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff on Saturday night. I think Southern Cal will light it up through the air. I think he lights it up, guys. Caleb Williams again. I mean, this dude is just a walking 350-yard game through the air. It happens like clockwork. I love the over passing yards total here. I think he's all over Arizona State's defense all night long. I think the over will hit in this game. We move to one of the most notable games of the weekend. Oregon taking on Colorado in a top 20 matchup. I think most folks are expecting, and it's interesting, guys, you can really, really tell who dislikes Deion Sanders by some of these score predictions and the way that some folks are talking about this game, right? Like they're almost taking enjoyment in the fact that, like, Oregon's going to kill Colorado. It's like, okay, just lower your tone just a little bit. Either way, though, I do think Oregon offensively, guys. Colorado, I don't think will have an answer. That's the one thing they haven't been able to do all that well this season's play defense. 315.5 passing yards is the total for Bo Nix. I think he hits the over, man. I really do. I think they're going to be living through the air all day. I don't think Colorado is going to have much of an answer in this football game. I think the football will be flying. I think Bo Nix, obviously, guys, one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country, and I think he will show that yet again in a really, really big-time performance against Deion Sanders' team. We move to Texas A&M and Auburn. Now, I like Texas A&M's front seven a lot. I think we all know they've got a ton of talent. Auburn on the offensive side has struggled this year, but they are going to lean on that running game. I'm not sure what Peyton Thorne really gives you in this one. Auburn has no chance if Jarquez Hunter does not get going, and I think he will. Over 54.5 rushing yards. This total feels strangely low to me. I know Auburn's going to use some other guys and what have you, but I don't know, man. This one feels like free money. This one feels like I'm stealing. Over 54.5 rushing yards. I think Auburn will make it a priority to get Jarquez Hunter going. I think they'll do exactly that. Give me the over on his total. Sticking with this game, Texas A&M and Bama. Evan Stewart. I got the under. The only under we have on the board this week. I've got the under 80.5 receiving yards for Evan Stewart. I think Evan Stewart, a guy with the other weapons on that offense, Anais Smith, what they're going to do with the running game. I think Auburn's secondary, right? Really, really good. They'll make it a priority to shut down Evan Stewart. I think the under 80.5 receiving yards. I think that hits in this ball game. Again, guys, I've still got Texas A&M winning the football game. I still think there will be a lot of points in this game, but I don't think it comes from Evan Stewart. I think he's held under that 80.5 receiving yard total. I think Auburn's secondary is good enough to do so. We go to Gamecocks and Mississippi State. Like I mentioned, guys, I think Spencer Rattler through the air. Mississippi State, the problems they have with their secondary to Camarion Richardson will be on Xavier Legette. He is their top guy. I don't think it'll matter, man. You saw Xavier Legette do it against Georgia. We've seen him do it all year. One of the leaders in the entire country in receiving yards. His over-under total in this game is also 80.5 receiving yards. I think he shatters that. I think he goes over 100 receiving yards. Guys, we know there's no Juice Wells. It all falls on Xavier Legette. If this passing game is going to be clicking at its highest possible level, and I think it will, I think Xavier Legette will be a big, big, big-time part of that. I think the over 80.5 for Xavier Legette will hit. I think he will have another big night for South Carolina. We move to the Clemson and Florida State game. FSU a 1 or 1.5 point favorite, depending on what book you look at. Clemson's a very trendy upset pick here. And I think it obviously makes a lot of sense being on Clemson's home field. With that being said, am I taking the Tigers to win this football game? No, I am not. I like FSU on the number. But Will Shipley over under a half rushing touchdown. So what you're asking me is, does Will Shipley get a rushing touchdown? Clemson doesn't stand a chance if he doesn't. And I do think this is going to be a close back and forth ball game. I got Will Shipley over a half rushing touchdown. I think he'll get one. We obviously saw kind of the spat with he and CJ Spiller on the sideline, and maybe Spiller upset with him about some things, Shipley upset as well. I don't think it's a big deal at all. I think Will Shipley is one of the better running backs in college football. I think he shows that in this football game. And I think at minimum, he's going to punch one in there for Clemson. So give me the over a half rushing touchdowns for Will Shipley. And guys, finally, we go to Kentucky and Vanderbilt. And one of the most fun matchups of the weekend is Ray Davis going against his old team. Of course, if you did not know, Ray Davis ran for over 1,000 yards at Vanderbilt last year. Over the course of the offseason, hit the transfer portal and transferred to Kentucky. Now he takes on his old team. The over-under rushing yards for Ray Davis, guys, is 97.5. I think Ray Davis is going to go off against his old team. There's going to be some extra juice. There's going to be some extra motivation. Kentucky is going to be in a position where they want to give him an opportunity, right, to shine against his old team. And I think Ray Davis, when you look at what he's done lately, guys, he's coming into form as well. Really like him. I wish South Carolina would have landed him. Either way, that's a story for another day. But either way, Ray Davis over 97.5 rushing yards. I think this game is personal for Ray Davis. I think he is going to have a big, big game against the Vanderbilt Commodores as he helps lead Kentucky to a big win in Nashville. So again, guys, my Prize Picks plays for week 4 of the college football season. We have 7 of them. Caleb Williams over 300.5 passing yards. Bo Nix over 315.5 passing yards. Jarquez Hunter over 54.5 rushing yards. Evan Stewart under 80.5 receiving yards. Xavier Legette over 80.5 receiving yards. Will Shipley over a half rushing touchdowns. And finally, Ray Davis over 97.5 rushing yards. Guys, that being said, let's jump into another quick break. On the other side, we'll get my good friend Jake Crain of Crain and Company on the show. Really excited to talk to Jake as he brings the heat each and every single Friday. All that and more on the other side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. The Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Carolina Cigars. Carolina Cigars has been in operation since 2008, recently taken over by the Peterson family in 2020. Whether you're new to the cigar scene or whether you've been enjoying cigars your entire life, Carolina Cigars has the expertise and knowledge to make your visit to their shop enjoyable. Stop by for a fine cigar and experience their classic cigar lounge where people come together, share conversations, and become friends. So if you're into cigars and you're on Hilton Head Island, you really do need to go by and see them. They offer same-day shipping nationwide, free delivery island-wide for weddings and all special occasions. They're also proud to offer premium cigars at 9 outside humidor locations around Hilton Head Island, and they have special events throughout the year as well. They want to talk to you. They want to engage. They want to share with you their cigar selection they're very proud of and their beautiful cigar lounge. When you're in the Low Country, there's only one place for cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, and there's only one place I get my cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, Hilton Head Island's premier cigar merchant. Come and share your passion. It's all here at Carolina Cigars. Give them a follow on Instagram at Carolina_cigars, or give them a call today at 843-681-8600. That's 843-681-8600. Smoke them if you got them, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya. The Daily Crow is also brought to you by our friends over at A1 Air Quality Consultants. Headaches, coughing, running nose while in the office or just in your home, call A1 Air Quality Consultants to have your air checked today. From Columbia to Asheville, Anderson to Charlotte, they are your breath of fresh air for all of your air quality needs. Be sure to give them a call or shoot them a text today at 864-619-2092. That's 864-619-2092. You can also contact them via email at a1airqualityconsultants@gmail.com. Be sure to check them out. We thank A1 Air Quality Consultants for their love and support of the Spurs Up Show, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya.
Muscle Dougie Ho.
Ladies and gents, God, I can't even spit it out. Ladies and gents, we are back here on this Friday, September the 22nd, 2023. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in as we await my good friend Jake Crain of Crain and Company to jump on the show. Appreciate you guys. Also, hey, do not forget, tomorrow night, we've got the post-game call-in show presented to you by our friends over at A1 Air Quality Consultants. Let me say thank you to those guys for their love and support of the show. But immediately following tomorrow night's game, we will take your questions, your comments, your calls, of course, as we live react to everything that takes place in tomorrow night's game, South Carolina and Mississippi State. And as I mentioned yesterday, the unfortunate part is I don't know what would drive more viewers, a win or a loss. Because the The most tuned into post-game show was the one after UNC, if that tells you anything. Yeah, for the record, thank you, Brendan, for informing me. I totally forgot about this. The game with Mizzou and Memphis is actually in St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis. So that game is not in Como. I do apologize either way. That does not change my pick. That does not change my pick. So anyways, guys, in the meantime, leave us your questions, your comments, your calls, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. I got to be honest, too, because Bruin Nation brought it up yesterday. I do not want to see Gamecock Nation if South Carolina loses this football game. I really don't. I really, really, really don't. So I do think South Carolina is going to take care of business. I don't think we're going to have to find that out, if you will, but it's a big one, man. It's a big one because I think you can realistically say this, guys, and I know we've been talking about all week how important it is, but let me just put it to you this way. South Carolina wins this game, 7-5 is still on the table. Maybe even 8-4 if things get crazy. You lose to Mississippi State, 5-7 is incoming. 5-7 is almost guaranteed. So just it's that level of important because, I mean, you lose to Mississippi State, guys, you're probably starting the season 1-4. Maybe worse. I don't know. Maybe it gets worse than heck. I don't know. But either way, we'll worry about that when it happens. Either way, though, guys, I've got the Gamecocks winning the football game. I'm not, I think South Carolina at home in a must-win game. The Gamecocks have always found ways to be really, really good in those spots. And so I think they'll do that yet again, man. I just, it's hard for me to fathom. It really is hard for me to fathom South Carolina being in a spot like this and not playing well and not doing what's necessary to win the football game. We've seen the Gamecocks in games like this, in spots like this where you need to win, and being at home at night with Willie B, Sandstorm going, it always seems to make the difference. So we'll see if that's the case yet again. Yeah, but Bruin Nation, to your point, like you mentioned yesterday, I don't know that I want to see what the fallout is if South Carolina's not able to get the job done. Either way, we keep the conversation rolling, guys. Again, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in here on this Friday. Let me say thank you again for the love and support of the podcast side of the business, guys. The podcast doing record numbers. We'll reflect on those, obviously, end of month, but really, really fun to see and fun to watch. And just appreciate you guys tuning into the podcast and tuning into the show each and every single day. It's always a lot of fun, guys. That being said, of course, he joins us. I believe he's ready to go. He joins us each and every single Friday to break down Gamecocks, SEC, college football, everything in between. It's always a pleasure to talk with our good friend, Jake Crain of Crain and Company. And check out his show, by the way. Those guys do a fantastic job over at Crain and Company. Jake, and by the way, just to let you know, the past couple of Sundays, I've been catching you guys in the mornings, getting the college football recap and the NFL previews, and you guys are doing a fantastic job with that, man. So keep up the great work, and I appreciate you taking the time once again.
Dude, I always love coming on here. You know how much respect I have for you and enjoy chopping it up with you guys. It makes me happy. Man, just hit 100,000 on YouTube too. We're just blown away. It's just wild, man. We love what we get to do, and taking live calls every day now, man. It's gotten wild. Like it's we have some people calling in. I mean, the trash talk is at an elite level. We had some Arkansas fan. We had an Arkansas fan come in and kind of say they're going to beat LSU, an LSU fan call in and basically make fun of everybody that's ever lived in Arkansas. And then an Arkansas fan came in today and pulled the CDC obesity numbers. And it's like just
going for the jugular.
Oh, going for the jugular, man. But no, it's a lot of fun. We got a Saturday game day special too with David Pollock that we're dropping tonight as well. So yeah, man, it's pumped, ready to go. Big weekend.
Glad to see David Pollock getting back in the fold with somebody, man. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Dude, what
great for college football and a boneheaded decision, I thought, by game day to let him go. Either way, that's a story for the day. But a lot of success, well deserved, Jake. Again, congratulations to you guys let's get into it, man, because you specifically had a take that I agreed with and I wanted you to expand on. And that was when you look back at week 3, South Carolina goes into Athens, not getting much of a shot from anybody, including me, and went toe-to-toe with Georgia for a half. Heck, led them 14-3 at halftime. And, looking at that game, it was somewhat mixed emotions because admittedly, as someone that picked the Gamecocks to lose by 29 points, if you'd have told me you'd have had a 10-point loss, 24-14 in postgame, I would have said, I'll sign up for that in a heartbeat. But when you look at when it happened and you started to dive back into the film and watch the replay of the game, and it felt like that maybe South Carolina let go of a golden opportunity by going away from the things that got them to that point in the first place. Talk about that game, because I know that was something you went on Mark Ryan's show and mentioned that you felt like maybe the Gamecocks went away from some things that were working in a day that was, we take away great progress. I mean, what did you see, though? It almost seemed as if South Carolina dropped the ball and a chance at a big-time upset.
Well, it's funny. A couple of weeks ago, after South Carolina lost to North Carolina, we were talking about, hey, what can they do? The offensive line's struggling. Are they going to be able to run the ball? You can't be one-dimensional. And what do we say? You need to take a page out of Colorado's playbook against TCU. Hey, we know we can't run it. We'll supplement the run game with a quick passing game. Well, that's exactly what South Carolina did in the first half against Georgia. And it was working. It was working to the point where Georgia didn't quit on the pass rush, but it's so demoralizing when you just can't get there. And then all of a sudden, when he is in true drop back and going through his reads, you're kind of slow to convert power to speed. Or you're like, all right, well, I'm just going to mud rush and get ready to run laterally and go make a tackle on a guy catching a screen. And it was working. Georgia looked off balance. And then on the Georgia side, offensively, I mean, they kept the training wheels on Carson Beck the whole first half. I mean, it was absolute vanilla ice cream and peanut butter and jelly on offense. It was almost like Georgia just thought they were going to line up and just be better than South Carolina the whole time, regardless of game plan, and try and save as much as possible offensively. And then they realized, oh my God, we're down 14-3. South Carolina's controlling the game. Juice Wells going out early sucks. That's unfortunate. But the game plan was so good going into it. It's what you had to do. You had no other choice than to do that, and it was working. But the game of football is about adjustments. The best teams are the ones that adjust the best. It's like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a game plan until you go get punched in the mouth. It's the teams that can come in at halftime and say, all right, here's what they're doing. They're either doing what we thought they were doing, and we still need to make some adjustments, but it's going the way we thought, or they're doing something different than we thought they were going to do. Now we have to adjust. And then on the offensive side, what we're doing is not working. Now we have to adjust. You can tell which staff made the best adjustments coming out of halftime. Now, that isn't to say that everything that South Carolina did after halftime wasn't good, but you went away from what was working. And you didn't even really, honestly, force Georgia to adjust on defense. You really played right into their hands. You didn't get cute. You almost just were. It was like you were so shocked that it was working. You're like, all right, well, they're going to adjust. So let's pre-adjust with an adjustment instead of saying, you know what, let's run this. You don't go broke making a profit, or if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's do this until they have to adjust to something, and then we'll change if we have to. But they kind of preemptively did it, and Georgia really didn't do anything differently defensively the second half than they did the first. You overthought yourself. That's what you did. And then defensively, Georgia opened up the playbook. It was funny. Georgia started doing the things that South Carolina was doing in the first half. Go look at the start of the second half. What was it? Perimeter quick game. Perimeter quick game. Inside run, play action. Perimeter quick game. Perimeter quick game. Inside run, play action. And they started getting Brock Bowers more involved. So I was surprised to see that. I thought South Carolina was really up to play that game. You had guys playing at a higher level than what they normally played at. And I will say this. Nobody in college football is more important to their team than Spencer Rattler. It's not even close. This man is making himself so much money this year by the way he is playing. And to me, it's not even just the physical aspect of it. We always knew Spencer had a good arm. We always knew Spencer had enough wiggle to make it interesting. but his maturity as a player and as a teammate. I see him leading now. He'll still get upset. He'll still, but that's part of it. Everybody does that. But I see him leading now. And if I'm an NFL scout, that was the biggest box that was left to check. It wasn't his ability to throw rolling right. It wasn't his ability to fit the whole shot in against cover 2 or drop the lollipop in there on the 9 route. So that's good. That's good to see. But here's the problem for South Carolina. You can only get up to play that well so many times a year. That's just human beings. That's how it is. Not that you don't want to play good. If you always played how you felt or wanted to play, nobody would ever play bad. But that's not how this game works. And here's what's scary about Mississippi State, okay? Mississippi State just got embarrassed in front of a national audience, their fans, their family, that girlfriend they've been hanging out with that they know's way too good looking for them lately, in front of everybody, in front of God and everybody. So they're feeling it right now. They've got to come in and play well. What's the best way to beat embarrassment? By grabbing glory. If you're South Carolina, you're going to watch the film of Mississippi State and be like, what? Like, what? Am I getting punked? Like, where's Ashton Kutcher at with all the cameras? And it's going to be tough to get up as high as you were and play at the level you were playing at against Georgia. But you are at home. I've coached in that stadium. I mean, you turn into the red light district. No. It's going to be crazy. But don't think Mississippi State's coming in here and they're just going to lay down and die, because that's not what's going to happen. Zach Arnett's feeling it. Not that they're going to fire him, but there's a very sour taste in Starkville, and you got some old heads on that team.
Jake, admittedly, this is a game that terrifies me, if I'm being totally transparent.
Yeah.
I've picked South Carolina to win the game. And my biggest reasoning, Jake, is this, as we transition and talk about this Mississippi State game tomorrow night. I've picked South Carolina to win simply due to the fact that it seems as if when the Gamecocks have their backs against the wall, especially at home at night, that is when they show up. I feel like that's when we tend to get all of the, a lot of the beamer ball, a lot of the opportunistic plays on defense. It's almost like you mentioned, the red light district, the crowd, the environment. It's almost like it wills the ball to bounce South Carolina's way. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's just
that's a real thing.
More good things tend to happen when South Carolina is on its home field at night, which I think a lot of SEC teams can say that. But with Woody Marks, and like you mentioned, for Mississippi State, there's nowhere to go but up. They got embarrassed last week. I mean, LSU took them to the woodshed. And I just wonder, Jake, even with the way that Spencer Rattler's playing, how many times can you have success not being able to run the ball and not being able to stop the run? Like, you just can't make a living doing that. And so it's going to lead to inconsistencies. It just is. There's going to be nights South Carolina can get away with it. Spencer Rattler's going to play out of his mind, and they're going to win the football game anyways. And that's what I think is going to happen. But what scares me, Jake, is like the margin for error is so small, because what if Spencer Rattler just plays okay? What if he just has an all right game? God forbid he's not good. If he's not good, they don't have a chance. But what if he's just okay? And then Woody Marks from Mississippi State gets rolling, and Will Rogers finds it again. Like, I find it hard to believe Kevin Barbay and Zach Arnett are not going to open it up and let Will Rogers sling the football, because he looked like a shell. I mean, to say he looked like JV against varsity last week.
Their offensive line was horrible. That's what somebody asked me on the radio this morning. Kevin Barbay's new offensive system must not work. I was like, my brother, let me tell you something. I don't care if you run the triple option. I don't care if you run the air raid. I don't care if you run some new offensive system I've never heard about that hadn't even been invented yet. If you cannot block for the run and you cannot protect for the pass, it is not going to work. It's just not going to work. And Mississippi State couldn't pick up a twist last week, let alone swipe or gut cross or bullets or some exotic pressure. They couldn't pick up a simple twist. LSU's buying real estate in the backfield. So Will Rogers, if you go watch, is literally having to catch the ball, and they're running combinations that you have to let get down the field. Like, they've got to develop. And he's sitting there just having to be like Professor X and go in that big dome and try and figure out where everybody's going to be all the time, minus the wheelchair, which if it keeps going this way, he'll be in a wheelchair. But here's what I will say. South Carolina is better than Mississippi State, in my opinion. They are, and they're at home. Are they a lot better? Are they worlds better? than Mississippi State? No. So you're right. The margin for error is smaller. But here's another thing. You showed your hand against Georgia with how you kind of want to play this thing early. You said, all right, and Zach Arnett's a defensive guy. So here's what they're going to say in the meetings at Mississippi State this week. Okay, guys, look, South Carolina's struggling to run the ball, right? Our run defense, even though it isn't great, it's not awful. If we can play too high and stop the run, we know they're going to resort to the quick game to supplement the run game. So how do we adjust to that? So the more you play, obviously, the more your tendencies and the more the book's out on you. So how does Loggins and all them adjust to that? The easy answer is run the ball better. Run the ball better. But that's a lot easier said than done when you don't have a great offensive line. So the chess match this week is what I find very interesting because, again, if you're not evolving, you're dissolving. And you have to be able to have add-ons to what you're doing, even when you do something new, even when you've been saving something. Once you show it, you play show and tell, all right, the world sees it now. They're going to work it. You need to have an answer for it. So, look, when I look at South Carolina, this just feels like one of those games, Chris, where there's a big special teams play that switches the game. And I'll say this, South Carolina's got one of the best special teams units. Shane Beamer is unbelievable at it. But Tulu Griffin can cause some problems too now in special teams. That's a name to watch out for. And here's the thing we say, South Carolina, you can't give Mississippi State any hope. Kill it early. And they'll tuck and run because there's a lot of doubt, right? They need something good to happen early in this game or it's, oh no, wow, we really do suck.
Jake, to your point, who do you think this is a bigger game for? Because I think both sides can make a case for their own respective side, if you will.
Well, I mean, I think it's this. It's always a big game, right? When you're at this level, right. But I think it's for different reasons, right? Neither coach is going to get fired if they lose this game. But if you look at the Mississippi State side of it, if you lose this game, now that sour taste gets even worse. Now people at Mississippi State are looking around like, man, maybe we shouldn't have promoted from within like this. Maybe Zach Arnett isn't ready. You always have that young coach that's now a head coach, kind of backdoor for the administration to say, well, he's just not ready. That excuse is always there. That's you. Again, that I've seen old guys that can't coach and young guys that can. I've seen it vice versa. So if it's Mississippi State, it's a trajectory thing, right? For South Carolina, to me, it's obviously huge because you're trying to get back to a bowl game. You want to prove people like me that picked you 5-7 wrong and keep this kind of momentum building up that you're developing, right? You're still building the house. You poured the foundation. It looks good. Now you're starting to put the infrastructure in it. You don't want to set back. You don't want to flood where now all of a sudden people say, oh my goodness, well, we're really, really bad this year. It's going to take us 2 years to recover. Oh my goodness, Clemson's having a down year. Clemson's having a down year and we can't take advantage of it. So it's big for multiple reasons. And I'll say this, Jeremy, I see you say Mississippi State gets a pass after Leach. I mean, damn people, that is a lot. Now, let me tell you something about this business, buddy. You don't get a pass in the SEC. What world do you live in where you get it? You think Mississippi State fans after the game, after getting embarrassed by LSU, was like, well, guys, let's just give them a pass. You think all the boosters and all the people that pay money that they earn to help that program, like, oh, let's just give them a pass. No, this isn't a lemonade stand, bro. What world do you live in? Like, this is SEC football. There is no pass that you get. Like, that's not how it works. You don't live in reality. I mean, it's sorry, not sorry.
Jake, if you had to make a pick for this game, where would you go? You've already said a special teams play could decide it, but I mean, I feel like this is one of those games back when we were at SEC Media Days that we were looking forward to just because, this is like probably the third or fourth biggest game of the weekend in the SEC, but it's like this might be one of the most entertaining because it's literally a coin flip.
Yeah, look, I mean, I picked South Carolina to win this game before the year. Again, the thing that worries me is you got so up for that Georgia game. Yeah, Jeremy, I live in the real world. You live in Narnia, bro. Where's Mr. Tumnus and the Ice Queen? I don't know what. Step outside, touch grass, bro. When I look at this game, South Carolina, I think is going to be pissed off. I think South Carolina is going to show up. And Mississippi State, you worry about the wounded animals syndrome. You know, they're coming in. We got nothing to lose, whatever. Mississippi State does have something to lose. They're expecting to beat South Carolina. After that performance from last week. So I like South Carolina in this game. I'm not betting it. I'm not touching this game. Aside are the points. But I do think South Carolina, if I had to make a prediction on it, I'm going to say South Carolina 31. Give me Mississippi State 24.
Okay. And I got the over 50, by the way, Jake, in the football game. Numbers
there you
now
go. It's a winner.
No, numbers now at 55, by the way. It opened at
it's at 55? Oh, I may be exactly right.
It opened at like 48. I was stunned. Either way, though.
Special teams. They know what we know.
Special teams, indeed.
They know what we know.
This is going to be
when does Will Rogers overthrow the crosser right to the safety?
This has got sicko game written on. Like, I could just see a bunch of weirdness taking place.
Oh, dude, if the aliens landed on the field halfway through the first quarter and like, all right, we're here, I'd be like, well, it makes sense.
Jake, let's get into the rest of the SEC slate, man. I want to go a different way, though. Obviously, Florida beats Tennessee, big-time win. Gators have Charlotte this week. Tennessee has UTSA. I think Tennessee's game is a little bit more interesting, obviously, but both are expected to win. Who did you learn more about from that game, Florida or Tennessee?
Man, Joe Milton didn't lose Tennessee that game, but Joe Milton's not good enough to win them games. That's one thing we've said, on Crain Company the whole time. I don't hate Joe Milton. I don't think he's a bad player, but I don't think you have some sports media members like Joe Milton's going to win the Heisman because he hit a golf cart at the Manning Passing Academy camp from 90 yards. Whoa, throw a slant. I was more disappointed by Tennessee's front seven on defense. Like I gave them literally a lot more credit.
They caught a lot of hype going in that game, even from me.
Well, they did. But if you look, I will say this: Florida struggled to run the ball against Utah, but a lot of what Florida was doing was east and west. Like it wasn't north and south. It was a lot more north and south, more old school Billy Napier pistol style runs against Tennessee. And they got Tennessee could not adjust to not having the tendencies out of the pistol, but they really just got bullied up front. So I learned more that Tennessee defensively maybe isn't what a lot of us thought they were. I'll tell you this, man, Graham Mertz playing better than I thought he would. Like he's a little bit better than what I thought. I mean, he's not gonna go to the NFL or whatever, but at the end of the day, I feel like Tennessee is just an average team. They're just an average team.
That's fair. And I think that's a fair take. We'll see. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I think they're both average teams, to be honest with you.
Yeah. One of the middle-of-the-pack SEC teams. Middle-of-the-pack SEC teams. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Hey, let's go to College Station, Jake. This is a fun one. Texas A&M and obviously the Auburn Tigers, the noon Eastern kick on ESPN. Huge game, obviously, for Jimbo Fisher, Bobby Petrino, et cetera, et cetera. I'll tell you this, Jake. I'm picking Texas A&M, but I love the man in the fight that has nothing to lose and is willing to die. That man is Hugh Freeze in this game because I look at it as Auburn has literally nothing to lose. It's year one of the Freeze era.
House money.
You're playing with house money. I think Auburn
house money
is the most dangerous team of the weekend. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, look, it's going to be tough. I mean, I know A&M hasn't broken through, but they've stacked recruiting class on recruiting class. I mean, they have a bunch of depth up front. I've been really disappointed with A&M's lack of ability to run the ball consistently. And Miami, it was kind of weird the way that Miami beat them. It was with drop back passing. It wasn't Mario Cristobal running it down your throat and play action shots, which is typically what you get from a Mario Cristobal coach team. Here's the problem with Auburn. Peyton Thorne, he runs well enough to run the RPO system. He throws it decently. We knew that when coming from Michigan State, but he's having trouble reading it. Like he's not making good decisions on the RPO. That'd be the last thing that I thought would be his problem. And if he does that this week, Auburn's not gonna be able to move the ball because it's gonna be tough for them to create, even though the offensive line's better, it's gonna be tough for them to create movement in the run game consistently. I will say they've been very vanilla for the first, 3 games. They haven't really done, even at Cal. I mean, it was just, again, a vanilla ice cream. There was nothing really imaginative from a formation standpoint. They weren't really bringing in new personnel groupings outside of Robbie Ashford coming in to run it. And he hadn't really thrown it a lot out of that package. So Auburn's got to go in there and catch a few breaks. Connor Wegmans, to me, is a really good player. If you watch him operate, he knows what he's looking at. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. The one he did throw 2 interceptions against Miami, but one of them, the receiver fell down. You go back and watch the tape. He put the ball where it needed to be. He just fell down. But the longer Auburn hangs in this game, the more pressure that you're going to start to see on A&M, and they can feel it, right? You're hearing reports the boosters got the money together. Oh, the fans. You'll start to hear. I'm gonna be surprised if Auburn goes up early. If you may hear some boo birds, like, to be honest with you, in that stadium. So does Auburn have a chance? Yes. I got A&M in this game. I bought it down to 6.5. And at the end of the day, if Auburn sees to go there and compete and just look competent. But if they do win this one, Chris, there's about to be all hell break loose in College Station. I almost just want to see it for that. Like, just to see the roller coaster. But like Jeremy, like Chris, he said, it's all good. I just live in a world where losing a loved one's more important than football. Dude, nobody's saying that, that's not true. What I'm saying is, if Zach Arnett goes out there and loses, they're not going to forgive him for that because of Mike Leach. And we're not talking about your grandmother, like in your personal relationship. That's not how this works. If Mississippi State loses every game from here on out, they will fire Zach Arnett. They will fire him into the sun. Again, facts don't care about your feelings, dog. You can cry into your hands all you want. I'm just telling you the truth.
Auburn could be rolling Toomer's corner, and Texas A&M could be on a roller coaster.
They'll burn it down, Chris.
Could be on a roller coaster like we have never seen before. You mentioned Peyton Thorne. How do you feel specifically about the Auburn offense against A&M defense? Is that kind of weakness on weakness in your mind? I mean, it's too questionable.
Well, Auburn's got nobody on the outside at receiver who's done anything. It's all slot guys in the tight end. And if that's the case, they're just going to funnel everything inside. They'll be able to load the box, take DeBerry and Grimes, say, listen, you lock up the outside guys. We're not stressing them. We're going to have the safety shadow the nickel. We may bring in a dime package every now and then, and we'll handle the slot with zone coverage. Like, if A&M can stop the run with 2 high safeties, Auburn's in big trouble. But if you read the RPO right, you put a lot of pressure on the defense. That's why it's called a 3-man surface method, because it's putting pressure on the defense in 3 different places at once, and you have that option. You can make them play even, or you can make them dictate, we're going to try and take this away. And if you rob Peter to pay Paul, that's when you start hurting them. But from a talent standpoint, A&M has a lot more talented personnel than Auburn has across the board. There's not a lot of position groups that I'm looking at in between A&M and Auburn, and I'm like, yep, Auburn's got a better position group there. It's just the truth.
Now, Jake, I'm going to try to take a page out of your book and use the movie references to describe this next football game. Alabama and Ole Miss, Nick Saban against Lane Kiffin, 3:30 kick on CBS. Can Lane Kiffin play the role of Dorothy and kill the Wicked Witch of the West?
Yes. If Alabama doesn't adjust, if Alabama doesn't tailor the offense more to what Milroe, is capable of doing. Here's my problem. Here's my problem with Ole Miss. I'm not sold that they're that good up front. Tulane punched them in the face for 4 quarters. I mean, they pulled away at the end and ended up covering. But if Michael Pratt's in that game, and look, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, it'd all be a Merry Christmas. I think it's a totally different story. Now, Alabama hadn't set the world on fire up front either. I mean, they didn't touch Quinn Ewers in that game. But Ole Miss does not have Texas' offensive line. Judkins is beat up. They are getting Franklin back out wide. But what I'm interested to see is that battle up front. That's what this game's going to come down to. Lane can do it. Lane's going to have it dialed up. He's going to have it dialed up like Sark. He's going to mess with splits. He's going to pitch backwards. He's going to put you in conflict and bastardize things the way that Sark did. Sark went totally against rules. He would line up inside. He would cut down the splits to run stuff inside. Nobody does that. Like on that touchdown, and David McComb broke it down on the ping concept, where you have the dig and the post off of that. They did that from a tight alignment. Nobody does that. You typically line up tight to do something wide. You line up, somebody's leaving, somebody's coming. That's how it works. He went totally against that, which is Sark is such a witch. But Lane is too. You're going to get some funkiness, and Jackson Dart can run. He leads the SEC in quarterback yards per rush. So, yes, they can. I think Alabama wins this game.
How shocked are you at what we've seen from Alabama to this point?
I don't recognize them. But see, it's not just for the reason that everybody points out that's obvious. Yeah, the quarterback play hasn't been
Line
great.
of scrimmage.
Yeah, the line of scrimmage hasn't been great. But here's the difference. When Alabama, they had a monopoly up front on the offensive line and defensive line. I've talked about it all the time. But not only did they have bigger, more physical, and more athletic players than you, they were also smarter than you from a football standpoint. Alabama, from what I've seen, is a low football IQ team. And that's what makes it unrecognizable. I'm watching them play against South Florida. Can't pick up a blitz. You're trying to pick up punts in the middle of stuff I've never seen them do. Now, even take away the penalties. They're getting penalties out the yin-yang right now. They're an undisciplined team. They're an undisciplined team that does not have a monopoly on all the players anymore. That's why they're unrecognizable. And here's the biggest problem. Now, if something happens to Jalen Milroe, you've got nobody to put in. Now we know, right? Now we know. Ty's going to go like this because that's what young quarterbacks do, up and down. Buckner, I mean, you might as well just grab a clipboard, son, and make sure the Gatorade's not too watered down because it's a wrap for you. He's throwing more knuckleballs than Tim Wakefield out there. So, look, man, I think they're unrecognizable because they're just low football IQ, and that blows my mind to say. With a Nick Saban coach football, I never thought I'd see that. So that's the part that shocks me the most.
Jake, what's fascinating about the SEC West specifically is that it's still wide open. We've had all these non-conference losses, but that doesn't really mean a hill of beans when you talk about winning the SEC West, right? So LSU, Arkansas is another big game. We've also got Missouri and Memphis. I know that's East, but that's the rest of the conference. What, if anything, intrigues you out of those games? We also didn't mention Kentucky Vandy, but I don't think that's going to be much of a game. To be
Watch out for Vandy this weekend.
You like Vandy, really?
Plus 390. I don't think it's a bad idea to sprinkle a little bit. Look, Kentucky's not that good, man. That offensive line's bad again.
Bro, imagine Kentucky loses to them back.
They're bad again. That Devin Leary just panics. You talk about a guy that panics. I mean, he's panicking at the disco, bro. Like, watch him. Whenever there's any leakage, he just loses his mind.
Crowd in Nashville is going to be up for that Kentucky game.
Oh, yeah. Hey, they're going to be showing up about halfway through the third quarter when it's close. Right when they get done at the library, they're gonna be showing up. But look, Missouri, Memphis, you got to bounce back from a good win too. Like that's tough. That's not easy. Brady Cook, think he's gonna play. They said he was questionable. And Silverfield and Memphis, they got some dudes, and they haven't had that big road win, as well. So that one's intriguing. Look, I mean, I think Tennessee's going to destroy UTSA. UTSA, they lost so much production. They lost the Franklin kid to Ole Miss, who's going to play this weekend.
Probably without the starting quarterback as well.
Yeah, it just, man, nothing really jumps off the page too much. But I mean, there's so much going around, man. It's crazy. Yeah.
LSU, Arkansas, any thoughts? Battle of the Golden Boot. It's weird to have that game this early. It really is.
It is. No,
I like Hogs plus 17.5, by the way.
Yeah, see, I like the under here. I got it at 56.5 when it came out.
That's a good number. That's a good number to take.
Without Rocket Sanders, not that their other backs aren't capable, but they're not Rocket. I mean, they're not 235 out there running, legit 4.4 that can catch the ball out of the backfield. Good in protection as well. They're one-dimensional. KJ, at least at this point, hasn't seemed like he has taken the next step after taking a big step as a thrower last year. I thought he took a big step forward as a thrower. It looks like he's stayed about the same, and LSU's got that confidence again. They're back home. I just don't see a way in which Arkansas is going to be able to put up enough points to be able to be in this game. And defensively, they're okay. But if BYU's shredding you, like LSU, I mean, you're going to have to call John Walsh and the FBI and CIA and DEA and immigration services and CDC. It's just going to be a problem.
Jake, let's go to the biggest game of the weekend. It's not in the SEC. It's in South Bend, Indiana, Notre Dame, Ohio State. I mean, this is an all-time matchup here. What are you most looking forward to in this one? Obviously, this is a pair of college football playoff hopefuls that we'll be watching on Saturday night.
Yeah, well, the last time, try and guess the year the last time that Notre Dame beat Ohio State?
2002. I don't know. I'm throwing some.
1936.
God.
And we all remember how good Notre Dame was that year. With Ronnie White Shoes Johnson running it. No, this is going to be. I can't wait to see this matchup because I think Notre Dame, not that they have better athletes than Ohio State, they have enough athletes at the skill position on defense to be able to hang around in this one. Like, this isn't just a Notre Dame's huge up front. They can run the ball, but get them out in space, you're going to absolutely toast them. What I think you're going to see is Notre Dame's going to play umbrella coverage, keep everything in front, and see if a inexperienced quarterback will nickel and dime them all the way down the field. That's what I think you're going to see. And quarterbacks are greedy. They're the greediest people on the planet, right? One of my best friends in the world, a guy named Dave Tollefson, played DN for the Giants. He was Strahan's backup. He's the white guy that do the karate kick after the sacks. I was like, who was the best quarterback that you ever faced? He's like, well, it's an obvious answer, but not for an obvious reason. He was like, it was Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. I was like, why? He's like, because guess what? They would throw the check down all the way down the field if you'd give them to them. All that, they don't care. They weren't greedy. They weren't trying to throw the home run ball. If they had to go 17 plays and throw the swing to the running back on the check down every play, they do it. That is a very rare trait with quarterbacks and offensive coordinators, honestly, if you want to be honest. So I think McCord's going to try and force a couple downfield when Notre Dame keeps everything in front, or they're going to bend but don't break and hold them to field goals. And I think Sam Hartman and this Notre Dame offensive line is going to be able to run the ball well enough to set up play action to create enough separation. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think you're going to see a team lose this game, not win it. I think it's one of those style games. I think the new clock rule favors Notre Dame a lot. It's going to limit possessions. And I like Notre Dame to win this game. I do.
Jake Crain of Crain and Company. Jake, before we get you out of here, 2 games really quickly. I want your thoughts. Florida State, Clemson, FSU, a slight favorite. Clemson seems to be the popular upset pick of the weekend. And then Colorado and Oregon. Does Deion's, I want to say dream season, but does the Deion magic continue, or does Oregon sort of put that fire out a little bit this week?
I've got Oregon big in this game. I should have got it 2 weeks ago at 14.5, but I got it at 19.5. Look, it's one thing to be the hunter, right? You're going out there and you're killing wild boars and antelopes with a slingshot. It's amazing. But now you got to try and kill a rhinoceros with a slingshot, and you don't have your sharp slingshot in Travis Hunter, which hurts you on both sides of the ball. I just don't see a way in which Colorado is able to smoke and mirrors their way past Oregon, who's really good up front. Oregon's good up front. That's what Dan Lanning's built out there. He's trying to build an SEC team out in Pac-12, and I guess now Big Ten country, whatever the hell it's called. So I like Oregon big in this. Now, when it comes down to Florida State, Clemson, this one's tough for me because Clemson is so backed in a corner, right? Not that first week loss wasn't just huge because it was a loss. It was a conference loss. And there's no more divisions in the ACC. So you lose this one, and now you have no tiebreaker with Duke or Florida State, and I believe they still have to play Miami. It's looking really bleak early in the year for Clemson. But Florida State right now, in my mind, as we sit here, Clemson's problem is they can't get separation at the skill position on offense. I don't see that getting any better playing Florida State. I don't care how much magic Garrett Riley's able to find. I think Klubnik's legs, not that he's the best runner, but he runs well enough, will keep them in it. I think Clemson's going to, play balls to the wall. But Jordan Travis is scrambling to throw. Last year, he would scramble to run. And that is so much more dangerous and has elevated his game and the receivers around him so much that I like Florida State right now. I haven't made my pick yet, but every time I want to go Clemson, I just think about Dabo running down that hill. And it's just tough for me, Chris. It's just tough for me.
It's tough for us all, Jake.
But at some point, don't you think somebody would tell him? And listen, I'm not. A lot of coaches do a lot of goofy stuff, right? But man, just something about that. The TikTok video is bad. A tick, a tock, mouse goes up the clock. the transfer portal sucks or whatever, how that ended. That's one thing, man. Like somebody just put you on Front Street on that one. Somebody lied to you. They've been lying to you about this one, right? How about this? How about you come out and you wait and you let them run down the hill, right? And then y'all go play. There's just something about it, man. I don't know. I don't trust it. Like it's hard for me to be like, man, they're fired up. Look at Dabo run down that hill. Like
it's all about Dabo, man. It's always all about Dabo. So Jake, last thing before I get you out of here. Do you buy the narrative? Because what I heard a lot after week 3 is that there are sort of no elite teams in college football, like because of the parity. Because, like, do you believe that, or do you feel like there's still this gap between the 6 to 8 that have a realistic shot to win the title or go to the playoff and not? Or do you think it's kind of just open season this year?
There's way more parity than there has been in a long time. I mean, who's that team that you look at right now and you point at, you're like, all right, okay, there they are. Who else can catch them? Can these teams get good enough over the long term to be able to catch them? I don't see that right now. And you know what? It's great. I love it. Right? It's like when they send you those pictures, you're like, all right, hey, it's blurry. You got to tap it, like, to start seeing more of it. You tap and you tap and you tap, and it's the picture. We're going to be tapping the picture for a while in college football, because I think for the first time, man, I'm looking around, there's 6, maybe 7 teams, maybe even a couple more that can win this thing. And it's great. Finally, we get a little bit. It's not always going to be like this. There's a lot of turnover and a lot of top dogs. But no, I don't think there's an elite team. I think there's a bunch of teams that have a ton of potential, right? And we don't know yet, which I'm so glad to be on that journey with you guys.
Jake Crain of Crain and Company. And Jake, I'm glad to be on the journey with you as well, my friend. It's always a pleasure. Appreciate you. And one more time, let the folks know where they can catch you this weekend and every single day as well.
Man, just keep thinking about Dabo run down that hill.
Have you ever seen the video somebody made of Dabo sprinting full speed down the hill, and then it cuts to the scene from The Waterboy where it said, "He's the stupidest son of a bitch alive, but boy, he sure is fast." Like, I got to send you that video.
Just what happens, like, risk versus reward. What happens if that one time you could do it right 1,000 times?
He hits
but that one time
field,
you hit that snag on that hill. Maybe they didn't cut the grass good enough. Maybe an animal was running around on there and you fall. That's not like I fell down, get up real quick, nobody saw it. Yeah. Like, you're Isaac Newton all the way. I mean, I'd use that in recruiting. Every house I'd walk in, like, I wouldn't even say a word to the kid. I would just have a video of him falling down the hill and be like, really? Like, you trust this? You want to send your son this? I don't know, man. Yeah. It's just so funny to think about. Like, I don't know. Maybe I haven't given it that much thought.
Hey, we'll see it. We'll see it tomorrow at noon, man. We'll see it tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see it. You better not fall then. I'm gonna live bet Florida State so quick. No, but go to YouTube, type in Crain and Company, CRAIN and Company. Hit that subscribe button, man. Would love to have some South Carolina guys call in too. We've had a couple, but yeah, man, come check us out. It's a good time.
Jake and the man, I appreciate it. We'll do it again next week.
All right, Chris, y'all be good.
Yeah, man. Take care. Jake Crain, what a legend. Always great stuff with Jake, man. Appreciate him taking the time. Guys, that being said, we're going to jump into another quick break. On the other side, we'll get into your questions, your comments, your calls as well in our Q&A Power Hour as we close out the week and look ahead to tomorrow night's game at Williams-Brice Stadium. Guys, all that and more on the other side of this break. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. The Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Carolina Cigars. Carolina Cigars has been in operation since 2008, recently taken over by the Peterson family in 2020. Whether you're new to the cigar scene or whether you've been enjoying cigars your entire life, Carolina Cigars has the expertise and knowledge to make your visit to their shop enjoyable. Stop by for a fine cigar and experience their classic cigar lounge, where people come together, share conversations, and become friends. So if you're into cigars and you're on Hilton Head Island, you really do need to go by and see them. They offer same-day shipping nationwide, Free delivery island-wide for weddings and all special occasions. They're also proud to offer premium cigars at 9 outside humidor locations around Hilton Head Island, and they have special events throughout the year as well. They want to talk to you. They want to engage. They want to share with you their cigar selection they're very proud of and their beautiful cigar lounge. When you're in the Low Country, there's only one place for cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, and there's only one place I get my cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, Hilton Head Island's premier cigar merchant. Come and share your passion. It's all here at Carolina Cigars. Give them a follow on Instagram at Carolina_cigars, or give them a call today at 843-681-8600. That's 843-681-8600. Smoke them if you got them, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya. The Daily Crow is also brought to you by our friends over at A1 Air Quality Consultants. Headaches, coughing, running nose while in the office or just in your home, call A1 Air Quality Consultants to have your air checked today. From Columbia to Asheville, Anderson to Charlotte, they are your breath of fresh air for all of your air quality needs. Be sure to give them a call or shoot them a text today at 864-619-2092. That's 864-619-2092. You can also contact them via email at a1airqualityconsultants@gmail.com. Be sure to check them out. We thank A1 Air Quality Consultants for their love and support of the Spurs Up Show, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
Ladies and gents, we're back here on this Friday, September the 22nd, 2023. Appreciate you all tuning in. I hope you're all doing well, and thank you so much for being here. With that being said, the Q&A Power Hour and the final Q&A Power Hour officially gets underway. Before we take your calls, guys, we have a couple of voicemails we're going to get into to kick things off. So without further ado, let's go ahead and play your voicemails.
Hey, man, this is Justice Tinsley. I just wanted to voice a few opinions of mine. I won't be able to call in during the third hour, but I'll still be watching. I just wanted to say, man, it's killing me what's going on this year so far. I mean, Spencer Rattler has played absolutely lights out. And I mean, he's been doing it since after the Florida game last year. I mean, it's just killing me. I think, truthfully, I just think he deserves better than he's gotten this year because, let's just face it, even getting sacked 9 times against North Carolina, he threw for almost 400 yards. Stole the show against Georgia, too, for at least the first half. And he's just playing lights out. I think he needs to keep playing like this and improve his draft stock, and I think he'll get drafted at the end of the year. But yeah, I agree with your prediction. I think Leggett and everybody else is just gonna ball out tomorrow night, and Spencer Rattler is gonna have probably a career game, honestly. And we're probably gonna win big against Mississippi State. I want to say probably about 45-17, maybe. I don't think it's gonna be close at all. Yeah. I just wanted to call in and let that out. Appreciate you having me. All right.
Justice, I appreciate the call, my friend. He's picking a Gamecocks win. I like that score prediction a lot. Let's jump in this other voicemail, guys, and then we'll open it up.
What's up, Chris? We're going to beat the living shit out of Mississippi State, man. You can rest assured that. And tell you what, I got the Tito's vodka on ice. Going to be eating fried turkey legs and posting on Facebook about how bad Florida State beat the shit out of Clemson. Go Cox, baby.
Sounds like a legendary Saturday, folks, and I hope every bit of that happens. What a time. What a time. My goodness. We do have a text here, guys. Says, do either Spencer or Wells have any eligibility left? And if so, could you see them coming back for another year? I know it's a long shot. Spencer Rattler, 0% chance. Absolutely 0% chance. Juice Wells, I don't know. If the injury lingers and he misses a lot of this season, I don't know. I don't know. You know, tough to say. It's tough to say in that situation. But Spencer Rattler, guys, I think is 100% going. Michael Googe texts in. Saw the guy who was spurring people in Athens. LOL. It was pretty hilarious. He was drunk off his ass. We went around a corner and he was in cuffs. I think my buddy has a Snapchat video saved him spurring the dog fans. Go Gamecocks. Beat MSU. Love that. Kins says, if Carolina loses tomorrow night, would you blame fans for coming for Beamer's job? Wow. Okay, now we're getting into the real questions here. I would not suggest it, Kins, and I will not be participating if that does happen. I don't think that would be the right move. I mean, I would I blame fans? I'm not going to blame fans for being fanatical. I'm not going to blame fans for doing as they wish because I'm not the fan police. I'm not going to tell people how to fan or how to react, but I don't think that would be a justifiable reaction to that result. I just don't. You know what I mean? I just don't. So, I mean, it's year 3, man. It's year 3. So no, I can't really, Kins. I know Gamecock fans get frustrated. I know it happens, but I don't see that. But I will say, to your point, because Kins brings it up about the game not going, like, I wasn't really nervous about this game, guys, throughout the week. I wasn't nervous about this game throughout the week. But you know what this game kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of those matchups against Kentucky when they had Benny Snell. And you never felt like the Gamecocks should have lost to Kentucky, yet a hard physical ground game, and it was enough to beat the Gamecocks. I'm nervous, admittedly, going into this game. Let's start with the phone line.
Robbie Davis, Zaxby's Hall of Famer.
Robbie Davis, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It looks like it's going to rain over here in my neck of the woods. But I have a theory that I want to run by you, okay?
All right.
And to me, it makes perfect sense. I actually talked to Stephen Garcia this morning, I messaged him on Facebook, and I said, I have a theory on who is going to be starting the Gamecock chant tomorrow night. I have a theory.
Okay,
and
let's
it
hear it.
makes perfect sense. I think it's going to be Alshon Jeffrey.
Okay, you want to explain?
It makes perfect sense because they're retiring his jersey tomorrow night. It makes perfect sense.
That would make a lot of sense, Robbie. You are right.
It makes perfect sense.
It does.
I don't see no scenario where it couldn't be. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that's one thing that I've started doing now is like with me and Mariner 26, we try to figure out who's going to start the Gamecock chant and come out of the train and start the chant. So that is what I think is going to happen. I mean, and like I said, it's the only thing that makes logical sense. I could be wrong, but it makes very much so logical sense on who it could be.
Robbie, I hope it happens. I hope it happens for your sake, because it sounds like you are very passionate about this.
I'm serious. I thought about this, and I thought about this last night. I was like, it could be Alshon Jeffrey. I was like, it was Connor Shaw for the first home game. It makes perfect sense for it to be Alshon Jeffrey. Absolutely perfect sense. But if it happens, I look like a genius. If it doesn't happen, I look like a jackass. But I'll be okay either way. It's a really fun thing to do, especially with the way the entrance is now. With me and Mariner 26, we try to. I tell him who I think it's going to be. He tells me who he thinks it's going to be. But it makes perfect sense that it would be Alshon Jeffrey.
That does make sense, Robbie. That does make a lot of sense.
But I think that I'm getting into game stuff now. But anyways, I think that for this game, I think South Carolina will come out prepared because we played Georgia pretty close, but just some things just didn't go our way. And I think we'll come out raring to go. And I think that South Carolina is going to, especially the offense, we're going to take advantage of Mississippi State's defense. And I think Rattler will have a very good game. I'm also hoping to see at least some semblance of a running game. I don't give a crap I don't care if you put the daggum a trainer at running back. I just want to see some sort of semblance of a running game, because if we can't find a running game, it's not going to end well.
Yeah, at some point, man, it's hard to overcome no running game and not being able to stop the run. So it's, I'd like to see South Carolina get closer to some semblance of balance. And I think if they can do that, it'll spell a big-time offensive night for sure.
And if I was Shane Beamer and we win the toss, like I said, I would take the ball. Okay, take the ball and have Mississippi State on defense first, and try to get some points to start off the game. Get the crowd into it even more so, because the crowd's going to be going crazy the second 2001 hits, but they'd be going even more insane if we can get the ball first and then score in the process. So, but and I think I feel like Debo Williams is going to have a good game tomorrow.
Debo Williams, breakout game.
So,
Robbie called it.
Because he had 11 tackles against Georgia. I don't know how many of them was the tackles for loss, but he had 11 tackles against Georgia. He played great, in my opinion, even though it was a loss. But I have a feeling he's going to have another really good game tomorrow. So I think our defense will be ready to go, and I think this is the weekend that we get some turnovers.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see it at Willie B, man, with the crowd, the environment, the electric environment, man. I could see it a vintage South Carolina game with a couple of big turnovers and special teams plays, and yeah, so could definitely see that, man.
So that's all I got. And as always, since you will not be present, I will go 10,000 miles an hour on cheering since you ain't going to be there in person. My goal is to barely be able to talk. That's my goal for whenever we leave.
Hey, I love it, man. I hope you have a lot to hope you got a lot to yell about tomorrow night.
And I will do my. I will. I know I'm just one person, but I'm gonna do my best to help that defense, man. And the game is sold out, man. I mean, show up, make Willie be a miserable place for the Bulldogs tomorrow night, and it needs to get to where they're ready to get out of there. Make it miserable for the next 3.5 to 4 hours. Just make it miserable for Mississippi State. So
Indeed.
That's all I got. Go Gamecocks and go Noles, baby. Go Noles.
Go Noles, indeed, my man. Robbie, appreciate you, man. Y'all have fun at the game this weekend.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
All right, brother. You take
All
care.
right, man.
We're going to keep it moving, guys. Next caller
Spur your
here.
enthusiasm.
Here we go. Spur your enthusiasm. Bryce, you're on the air. What's going on?
Yes, sir. All right. So I don't even know where to begin, but guys, it's all uphill. It's all uphill from here. We got nothing but positivity going forward. I know, damn it, I keep saying this. I know everybody gets tired of it, but I've got at least a reasonable scoring prediction for you this week. So I'm gonna say Carolina takes care of business. And we probably end up with like a 35-17 game. Carolina wins. Momentum to carry off into probably our next biggest task for the rest of the year, which is going in and trying to get a win in Knoxville.
Hey, I'll take a 35-17. I mean, South Carolina just needs a win. I don't care if it's 50-0 or 13-10. You know what I mean? Like we obviously just need to get a win in the win column in SEC play and build some positive momentum. And, you know, like you mentioned, have something to feel good about going into Knoxville. So I would definitely take that score prediction, though.
Absolutely. I mean, right now, I feel like the whole team is just absolutely desperate for a win right now. They're hungry for it. I've talked to a couple of the boys that I'm connected with on the team, and I mean, they are hungry for a win right now. They're definitely excited to get back into a Williams-Brice, as is all of us, of course. And hey, they got us under the lights again, and you know how things get when we got Willie B under the lights. You know, it may just end up being a straight up blowout, but I'm gonna tame my predictions and my expectations moving forward for a little while and see where we go from there. But yeah, I got 35-17. I think that Spencer Rattler does, you know, pretty decent. You know, I'm hoping, you know, he hits that 300-yard mark again. It would be fantastic for well, me obviously because of that Heisman bet. But yeah, man, I'm hoping to see where this takes us. But I've got us getting a nice dub this weekend, and hopefully we carry some of that positivity from last weekend to this week and move forward from there.
Bryce, well said, man. Again, 35-17. I'd take that in a heartbeat. So here's the hope and your prediction hits, my friend.
Yes, sir. Well, y'all have a good one. Go Gamecocks, and I cannot wait to get on that post-game call-in show tomorrow night.
Hey, can't wait, man. Make sure you blow up the phone line. We got to get you in there.
Oh, I'm going to get in there. You know I'm going to get in there. All right, y'all have a good one.
Bryce, you're the man. I appreciate it. Go Cox. Appreciate you, my dude. Great stuff from Spur Your Enthusiasm, always bringing the enthusiasm. Hey, phone line's ringing off the hook. Let's jump right back to it.
Call from
Will from Dirty Myrtle.
Will, what's going on, my man? You're on the air.
Good, man. I guess yesterday when I called in, I had a little bit of a technical issue on my end. Just wanted to call back in and say a couple things. First off, Spencer Rattler looks to be like he might be up to break that 3,500 pass mark that Dylan Thompson said. Looks well on his way to possibly doing that, so that's a good positive. How great he's played coming out of last week. Really was playing amazing until the last couple drives, which I almost don't even count that. Two, I don't know if you touched on this or not because I've been kind of busy this week. About Kai Kroger and the fact that he was supposed to be such a strength for us, and really I think he's had quite an off year so far punting the ball. Because against Georgia, he really wasn't punting very well. Didn't really help us much in that game. Hopefully he gets back on track. And thirdly, really worried about Mississippi State's run game this week. I really hope that we can kind of shore that up and just at least stop the bleeding a little bit, because I feel like we have a really good matchup against them. I think we match up well, and we'll be able to hopefully be able to move the ball against their defense. But just worried about them bleeding the clock on us and running the ball 100 freaking times. So just wanted to drop that little tidbit off, man, and say go Cox. And I'm hoping. I don't like to do score predictions because I'm one of those weird guys that feels like a jinx, but I'm hoping for a win this week, man, because this is the pivotal point in the season. We cannot fall to 1-3. 1-3 is a place we do not want to be, sir.
Yeah.
So let's just get this win, and we can talk about Tennessee next week. Anyway, I'll hang up and talk later, brother.
Will, appreciate you, man. Well said for sure. First thing on Spencer Rattler, I mean, I agree with him. Obviously, guys, Rattler playing at a level that's a lot of fun to watch. I think he could break Dylan Thompson's record, no doubt. I think it's definitely within reach. The Kai Kroger thing, is Kai Kroger quite hitting bombs like he was last year? Maybe not. I mentioned this a couple of days ago, that guys, I think that the expectations for Kai were set so high after the finish of the season, where Clemson, he's like literally a weapon for Carolina, and then the bowl game he throws a touchdown. So I'm not worried about Kai Kroger. I don't disagree that it hasn't been the start to the season for him that we thought. But I mean, guys, special teams hasn't really been a bright spot to this point. It's just been there. It's been okay. It's been like a normal special teams unit. But the problem is we're not used to normal special teams. We're used to special teams creating big plays and making a big impact. And then finally stopping the run. I mean, listen, man, I'm nervous about it too. I'm nervous about Woody Marks. I'm nervous about Carolina stopping the run. I'm nervous about the Gamecocks not being able to get off the field. Some people out there will try to tell you that, oh, it's fine, finishing 11th or worse in run defense, no big deal at all. Just worry about the points per game. And that's true, right? As long as you have more points than them, you win the game. But like those types of things, they come up to bite you at some point. And so you just hope, like, you don't want to be in a position where Mississippi State's playing ball control all game. Because if I'm Mississippi State, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm playing ball control. I'm running the football with Woody Marks. I'm dinking, dunking, maybe every now and then taking a shot. But I'm establishing the run because I'm, number one, trying to win the football game, but I'm trying to keep Spencer Rattler off the field, right? The best defense might be your offense. And so, and at some point when you can't run the ball and you can't stop the run, it comes up to bite you. So I'm just hoping that's not the case in this football game. And maybe South Carolina has taken significant strides to where, from Athens, we see that carry over. A guy like TJ Sanders is more active than he's been previously. The offensive line's taking steps forward. And maybe we're having a conversation about, man, the Gamecocks are dangerous because offensive line and defensive line are progressing. But, until I see South Carolina really go out there and stop the run at a high level, it's something you worry about and it's something you're concerned about. So I think South Carolina will do enough defensively. I think Woody Marks is going to get his. I think Mississippi State is sort of a discombobulated mess right now offensively. But that's definitely, guys, that was one of our key matchups, right? Stone Blanton against Woody Marks. That's absolutely something to keep an eye on in this football game. Guys, that being said, we're going to jump into a quick break. On the other side, we'll keep the conversation rolling, taking your questions, your comments, your calls, and more here on this Friday. You're tuned in to The Daily Crow. The Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Carolina Cigars. Carolina Cigars has been in operation since 2008, recently taken over by the Peterson family in 2020. Whether you're new to the cigar scene or whether you've been enjoying cigars your entire life, Carolina Cigars has the expertise and knowledge to make your visit to their shop enjoyable. Stop by for a fine cigar and experience their classic cigar lounge where people come together, share conversations, and become friends. So if you're into cigars and you're on Hilton Head Island, you really do need to go by and see them. They offer same-day shipping nationwide, free delivery island-wide for weddings and all special occasions. They're also proud to offer premium cigars at 9 outside humidor locations around Hilton Head Island, and they have special events throughout the year as well. They want to talk to you. They want to engage. They want to share with you their cigar selection they're very proud of and their beautiful cigar lounge. When you're in the Low Country, there's only one place for cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, and there's only one place I get my cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, Hilton Head Island's premier cigar merchant. Come and share your passion. It's all here at Carolina Cigars. Give them a follow on Instagram at Carolina_cigars, or give them a call today at 843-681-8600. That's 843-681-8600. Smoke them if you got them, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya. The Daily Crow is also brought to you by our friends over at A1 Air Quality Consultants. Headaches, coughing, running nose while in the office or just in your home, call A1 Air Quality Consultants to have your air checked today. From Columbia to Asheville, Anderson to Charlotte, they are your breath of fresh air for all of your air quality needs. Be sure to give them a call or shoot them a text today at 864-619-2092. That's 864-619-2092. You can also contact them via email at a1airqualityconsultants@gmail.com. Be sure to check them out. We thank A1 Air Quality Consultants for their love and support of the Spurs Up Show, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya.
Muscle Dougie Ho.
Ladies and gents, we're back here on this Friday, September the 22nd, 2023, here in the Q&A Power Hour, taking your questions, comments, calls. 843-790-3377, 798-843-790-3377. We have a couple of texts here rolling in. Big Nick says, chiming in this wonderful Gamecocks Friday afternoon, I say Gamecocks cover the spread, 38-17. Cox on top. I'm so ready for the game. I'm not able to make it to Willie B this weekend, but I'm going to put on a good pair of jeans and kick back in my recliner and eat literally 3 pounds of Maurice's barbecue with macaroni and hush puppies on the side. I'm going to have Sandstorm playing at volume 73 and blow up my speakers. Go Gamecocks. But that makes me want some barbecue. I'm actually very hungry now. Let's see. Michael texted in and said, my score prediction is 42-12. I'm going to be having some Bulldog soup on Saturday, and go Noles beat Clem sucks. Blake also texted in and said, why can't we use Mario as the heavy-duty back, Braswell as the inside the 20s, and DK on passing and inside the 5? What about Juju? Why can't he switch to slot wide receiver? He's shifty, and his talent is being wasted. Blake, I think you bring up some great points, and I mean the management of, or the mismanagement, however you want to call it, the way that the running back room has been handled is certainly something that is questionable, to say the least. It's absolutely questionable, the way that running back room has been handled, for sure. For sure. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. Let's go back through your questions. Hunter Johnson says 31-17 Gamecocks, by the way. Many of you commenting earlier in the show. My guy Kemper, been in here a couple times. Yes, Kemper, they are retiring Alshon Jeffrey's number. Yes. Braddock 843, Chris, you don't have to explain yourself. You can update your picks from July. So much could change from then to now, players hurt, etc. Yeah, Braddock, it was funny and everybody else that I had people on social media saying that I was backtracking or backpedaling, or like, I make picks in July. Doesn't mean I can't change those the week of the game. Like, I think there's some instances where, you know, I open myself up to the backlash, trolling, whatever. But I think there's some instances people just know they're picking and prodding and playing along. So whatever, it is what it is. Let's jump to the lines here.
Okay.
Peyton, what's going on, man? You're on the air.
What's going on, Chris? Doing all right, man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I appreciate you asking. What's going on?
Just calling in for my farewell Q&A power hour call. Coming in to give my prediction for this Saturday. I've got some. So I think South Carolina's really going to have a strong offensive showing this week. I'm feeling it. I think yesterday, I said Rattler's going to have a pretty big game Saturday night. Just based on Mississippi State's weak points, man. That's where the leading passing offense in the SEC for a reason, and they're towards the bottom in pass defense for a reason. So I think that'll expose itself. And that being said, I think Gamecocks pull it out. I got 38-17. I got a big win for the Gamecocks tomorrow. I think it's going to be a fun night. I think Willie B is going to be a madhouse. And I hopefully we can turn it into a madhouse early on. Hopefully we can get some good defensive play early. So I got it 38-17, buddy.
I do see a double-digit win as well for South Carolina. You know, if I'm able to remove my Gamecock PTSD, I do believe that a double-digit win could be incoming for sure. I think it's very possible when you look at the matchup and the game at home at night. I think you could see South Carolina really take it to Mississippi State.
Yeah, I really think that it's important for us to do that tomorrow. like I said, like I talked on it this week, just to save the morale. Because if we fall 1-3 this week, it's going to be real hard to keep guys amped up and excited and still feeling like we can salvage this season. And I can't speak for all the other Gamecock fans out there, but I'll speak for myself. If we fall 1-3 this week, I got us going 6-6 for the rest of the year. If that's really how this plays out, I think we're going 6-6, 7-5 is a glimmer of hope, but I got it 6-6 if we go 1-3. So that's a fear of mine. But like you said, I mean, Gamecock PTSD, it's certainly possible. Certainly possible. For as many Gamecocks games, many South Carolina games I've watched over the years, when we're favored, we usually let people down, and that's the way it is. But maybe Beamer's the guy to change that. He's slowly changing the culture at USC, and hopefully he can change that culture as well. Winning his favorites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they've also played really well with backs against the wall, and I think they'll do that again. But to your point, man, it's an interesting position to be in, and I tell you, man, if you start 1-3, I'd take 6-6 to be honest with you, because I just it's a gauntlet the rest of the way out, and I don't know. I don't even really want to. I don't really want to imagine it, to be honest with you, but we'll see.
I mean, we might have 2 games for the rest of the season that would be considered easier than this opponent right here. Mm-hmm. That's Vandy and Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
So I think if we got to take advantage of, we got to. I spoke on this earlier in the off season actually. To change the expectation as far as games that we are supposed to win and games that we are supposed to perform well in. Mm-hmm. Like last week, when nobody was expecting what happened last week, but South Carolina's got some expectations on them going into this week, because if we were able to pass the ball against Georgia, we sure as hell better be able to do it against Mississippi State. Mm-hmm. And that's the reality of it. Now, going forward, we're going to have to establish a run game, and I think we'll go out there and try to do that to the best of our ability Saturday. But if it's not working, don't beat a dead horse. Put points up, man. Get Willie B going. I know probably the most electric play in college football is a long run, but a deep shot that'll light up Williams-Brice just the same as anything else would. Mm-hmm. So I think we got to get Williams-Brice involved. I think that's going to be a big part of it too, man. Just turning those lights out as much as we can, and make those Mississippi State Bulldogs look around bewildered, make them have that deer in headlights look. I think we could do that. Jump on them early.
Yeah, I think that's
fast.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a key, man. No doubt, that's going to be a key. Get Willie B involved early and use the crowd to your advantage, and use every advantage you got, because this in some ways is a very evenly matched game, and they do some things well that can give you some problems. You do some things well that could give them problems. I think that the crowd could be the determining factor, or the thing that sways this in your favor. So definitely use it to your advantage.
And I'll add this too. Some interesting words about Jatius Gear and those guys. I'm glad to hear that they're expected to get some snaps Saturday. Glad to hear that, but it's still Beamer. God love him, but he's very much champish with the injury reports. He's very coach speak just takes over, and we don't really get anything of substance when it comes to injuries, other than Juice Wells saw a specialist, or so and so's nursing a hamstring. But other than that, that's about all we get. Mm-hmm. But I'll say if JT Gear plays, that'll definitely help us out on defense, and if Amarian Brown plays this week, that'll definitely give us some breathing room at receiver. So I'm looking forward to seeing those guys back, but both of them, none of them being 100%, that just kind of takes the fizz out of it, if you know what I mean. If you just say they're coming back, or say that we're not coming back, just leave it at that. Don't take the fizz out of it saying well, none of these guys are 100%, but we need them and they're playing. So just tell me that they're playing, and let my imagination take it from there.
Yeah, we'll see. I would imagine those guys, Jatias Gear, Marion Brown, those ones you mentioned, probably a game time decision. Yeah, it's just gamesmanship at its finest, but it is what it is, man. It's it's just you got to live with it, I guess. So.
Yep. With all the positives Shane Beamer's brought to this program, I think that's one of those things we can live with. So, but that being said, Chris, I'm gonna miss these Q&A power hours, man. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm gonna miss them, but this is definitely not the last you'll hear from me. I'll stay live in the comments, and hopefully I'll see you at a Carolina game soon here in the future, man. I'd love to see you, but I'll holler at you, not on the horn, but in the comments you'll hear from me, man. So I appreciate every call that I got to have with you. I love talking ball with you, man. Thanks for the up show. Go Cox, buddy. I appreciate it, Chris. Thanks, man.
Peyton, you're the man. Always a pleasure. Well said, my friend. I appreciate it. Good stuff from Peyton. And hey, listen, I would love it. What did he say? 38-17, I believe, right? Yeah, I'd take that in a heartbeat. Definitely think South Carolina is capable of that big double-digit win, but we'll see. Ruination says y'all predicting that, and it'll be 17-13. Let's see. Getting back through the comments. My guy Chase promoted the Big Cock Club Discord. Y'all join today, man. Definitely the Big Cock Club, because again, like I mentioned, Monday through Thursday, no more Q&A power. Really, Monday through Friday, no more Q&A power hour. Friday, we'll do a mailbag episode where it'll all be just your questions, your comments, everything. We'll devote that first hour plus to your questions. Basically, it'll be a Q&A power hour in hour number 1. So, but it'll be a mailbag episode, and then Monday through Thursday, the questions we will take will be super chats on YouTube. Or if you're in the Big Cock Club Discord, you're in the TDC question channel, those are the questions that we will get to. So join the Big Cock Club today. Also, we'll be watching college football in there all day long tomorrow. It's always a good time. Let's see. Andrew says, we're going to wreck them this weekend, winning out for the season, 10-2 final record. Yeah, then you woke up. I hate to say that, bro. Is that too was that too blunt there? I hate to kill your dreams, but yeah. Lynn Turner says, I'm glad we no longer do the 3 cupcakes in a row to start the season. That makes the rest of the season too painful. We used to do it. I've seen us start 5-0 and finish 1-5. Not fun. That's a good point. That's a good point. That is a good point, Lynn. I will give you that. Let's see. Madison, if it ain't swaying, we ain't playing. That's true. Jeff Gullidge says South Carolina 24, Mississippi State 16. Arthur Bear says, here's my hot take of the year. Gamecocks go undefeated at home this year. It's possible, Arthur Bear. It's very possible. But you got to win this first one to be undefeated, right? So that's the big thing. You got to win this first one. I think it's doable, though. I mean, you look at the home games you have, man. Florida's very winnable. Obviously, Jacksonville State, Vanderbilt, Kentucky's very winnable, and even Clemson's winnable. So, I mean, I think it's very doable. I think it's very, very doable for sure. Especially if you're getting a lot of those games at night. Hampton says 35-17 Gamecocks. How about Corey Bridges? Everyone's expecting a blowout when in reality State is about to get the dub. For whatever reason, everyone forgets Carolina has to play defense. So Corey Bridges is going with Mississippi State to get the win in this football game. Okay, there's one. I believe Corey's a Gamecock. So there's one Gamecock that's actually picking State to win it. Arthur Bear says 23-16 Gamecocks. Brewer Nation 45-20 Gamecocks. Brewer Nation says Mario runs for 100 tomorrow night. I will take that bet with you every day of the week, Brewer Nation. Ain't no damn way they're going to give Mario Anderson the carries. And you know it. I know it. We all know it. They're not giving Mario Anderson those carries. I'll believe it when I see it, my friend. I'll believe it when I see it. Let's see. Arthur Bear, I think Mississippi State's going to run the ball to slit on the clock to keep Rattler off the field. I think it will be a lower scoring game. I'm still taking my Gamecocks under the lights with the atmosphere. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game, guys, because you look at the SEC slate from the SEC perspective. I mean, it's probably like the third or fourth most intriguing game of the weekend, but like this could be one of the most fun games, one of the most interesting games, and this is a massive, massive game for each of these individual fan bases. Like, huge game. Let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
888.
BDD, what's up, man? How you doing? You're on the air.
Hey, man, is it true? Tell me it ain't true.
We can go a lot of different directions with that, BDD, so you might want to explain what you're asking further.
Man, are you shutting down the show or what, man? People tagging me saying I better call today. Are you going to delete my number?
No, we're just making some adjustments, right? Like South Carolina's coaching staff in the second half, making adjustments.
Yeah, man. Let's not talk ball right now, man. I'm still not. I don't know how. I'm all in my feels right now, man. After Tennessee going down to the swamp and coming out with swamp ass, you know.
That was a tough one for you. That was a tough one for you, yeah.
Man, it's been a bad week, man. I got that, and then I got people telling me you shutting down this show, you know, and I also just want to tell you to wake up, man. Some of these callers, what are you over there doing? Playing Pac-Man while they talking?
Nah, man, I'm just listening as intently as I possibly can, my guy.
Man, I might not be the brightest bulb in the shed, but I will leave it at that. But anyway, man, I hope you're gonna give me a direct number or something, you know, so I can still reach out and. It's
still the same number, man. It's still the same number.
It's just gonna be blocked.
No, it won't be blocked. No, it'll be open. It'll be open for you, BDD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, man, I mean, it like I said, it's mixed emotions. Because I mean, the best part of that, man, I ain't got to hear nothing about no Zach Sauce or bowl cut bandits with J.E.K. and John Edwards. And that's the best part, you know. I can actually just enjoy listening to old Chris Phillips, you know, and not have to worry about who's eating a corn dog or who's getting blocked in the chat. You know, John Edwards' chat has to be just an empty chat room, you know, with nobody in it. I mean, he's going to just sit there in these next coming days since he ain't going to be able to talk to you with just staring at the computer screen. Maybe he prefers that. I mean, his block list has to be as long as Santa Claus, you know?
You're right. I think you're probably right.
I just, you know, trying to air it all out, you know, right now since, you know, I don't know when next time I get talked to. I might have to join that soccer club or something.
You can do that, or you can still call in on Fridays. We'll take calls on Fridays.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. I have to keep that in mind. But yeah, man, I hate you doing this, but boy, you said Fridays are open. Cause I was gonna say next week's the big week, and you ain't gonna take my call or nothing like that.
We'll take it on Friday. I got to hear from BDD before the Tennessee game.
Yeah, you know, I don't know what to think right now after this performance. I'm, you know, with them balls, but we'll worry about that next week. I think we're playing the Roadrunners or something, and this weekend. So hopefully we take care of business, but. I think them Gamecocks gonna win, man. I do. I liked what I saw with the Gamecocks last week. You know, I predicted them win 31-30. So I'm sorry that didn't happen for you, but I think they're gonna win this weekend. 38-20. That's what I'm thinking, man. 38-20. Gamecocks gonna be a little cocky that night, you know.
38-20. BDD. Love the pick, man. I love the pick. And, sorry about your loss to Florida, man. I know you've been reeling this week. So,
yeah, man. And before I let you go, I was going to say, man, you see that video? You know, I don't want to talk about my past, but you see that video of Beckel throwing them T-shirts in the fire?
I did.
I just wanted to put it out there since we might not get to hear from us that much no more. But I'm behind the curtain. That wasn't just some random T-shirt she bought. That was her darn pillowcase, and I would know. She had that on her pillowcase, so I didn't want to
Harry out here, but she's been rubbing me the wrong way lately with these social media posts. She might be a closet Tiger fan. I'm just going to say, you might have to confront her next time you talk to her or see her at the Piggly Wiggly. But let her know that was a pillar case. I know it. I've seen it many a time. But all right, buddy, I'll holler at you next week with that direct line, and we'll talk some balls and some Gamecocks, man. BDD out. Have a good weekend.
You too, BDD. Have a great weekend. What a legend. What a call. My goodness. My goodness. Guys, we're going to jump into one final break. On the other side, though, we'll close out the show in style, taking your questions, your comments, your calls, and more here on this Friday. You're tuned in to The Daily Crow. The Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Carolina Cigars. Carolina Cigars has been in operation since 2008, recently taken over by the Peterson family in 2020. Whether you're new to the cigar scene or whether you've been enjoying cigars your entire life, Carolina Cigars has the expertise and knowledge to make your visit to their shop enjoyable. Stop by for a fine cigar and experience their classic cigar lounge where people come together, share conversations, and become friends. So if you're into cigars and you're on Hilton Head Island, you really do need to go by and see them. They offer same-day shipping nationwide, free delivery island-wide for weddings and all special occasions. They're also proud to offer premium cigars at 9 outside humidor locations around Hilton Head Island, and they have special events throughout the year as well. They want to talk to you. They want to engage. They want to share with you their cigar selection they're very proud of and their beautiful cigar lounge. When you're in the Low Country, there's only one place for cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, and there's only one place I get my cigars. That's Carolina Cigars, Hilton Head Island's premier cigar merchant. Come and share your passion. It's all here at Carolina Cigars. Give them a follow on Instagram at Carolina_cigars, or give them a call today at 843-681-8600. That's 843-681-8600. Smoke them if you got them, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya. The Daily Crow is also brought to you by our friends over at A1 Air Quality Consultants. Headaches, coughing, running nose while in the office or just in your home, call A1 Air Quality Consultants to have your air checked today. From Columbia to Asheville, Anderson to Charlotte, they are your breath of fresh air for all of your air quality needs. Be sure to give them a call or shoot them a text today at 864-619-2092. That's 864-619-2092. You can also contact them via email at a1airqualityconsultants@gmail.com. Be sure to check them out. We thank A1 Air Quality Consultants for their love and support of the Spurs Up Show, and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent ya.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Friday, September the 22nd, 2023. Final 10 minutes or so here on the Daily Crow. Taking your questions, comments, calls. It is game day eve. South Carolina and Mississippi State in the SEC home opener for Shane Beamer's football team. Cannot wait for it, guys. Let's jump right back into your questions. We had a text here. Let's see. Here we go. Let's get back to your questions. Will Collins says, do you think Dabble's the guy? Why not play a freshman running back looking to the future? Until we prove we can run, we won't get an elite running back. I mean, Will, again, I think Dabble Loggins went on record and explained this in his press conference on Wednesday, that they watch practice. Here, I'll translate it for you. They watch practice. Who performs is who gets on the field. And they make the determination. They make the decision. That's why they get paid the big bucks. I think that's, he mentioned to Kerryon Joyner, his pass blocking. There's more to playing running back than just running the football. And apparently they feel better about Kerryon Joyner doing all the other stuff along with carrying the football. They feel better with DK doing that than anybody else. Will Collins says Anderson needs to be RB1. DK isn't it. How long does Dowell have to show what he can do before it becomes an issue for Beamer? I mean,
call from
Loggins agent.
To accept.
What's going on, man? You're on the air.
What's going on, Chris? How you doing?
Doing well, man. I appreciate it. Just hanging out. What's up?
I'm excited for the game this weekend. I'm optimistic, but I just wanted to call in real quick before the weekend because I keep hearing this scenario that people are talking about, saying because of Mississippi State's defense, we're going to have quicker shots earlier in the game, quick routes and stuff. That kind of concerns me just a little bit, and I shouldn't even have to worry about Dowell Loggins not being able to adjust to this and understand this. But I think regardless of if Mississippi State DBs give us those quick passes early, there's probably a good idea that they know that we're going to do that. So I think you got to just – Spencer Rattler's got to take what he's given. What happened to the talk about Spencer Rattler's going to be able to check wide receivers in and out of routes and stuff? I'm just worried that early in the game we're going to see a lot of those screen passes. And I get you got to have them to, kind of replace the run game. But I think my advice to Loggins as his agent would be, don't be afraid to take those shots early. We don't have to wait a certain amount of time to take those shots. But yeah, also, man, I think something a lot of people may not really realize about this game. I mean, it's not a big thing, but this is the first home game since Tennessee, and we may not be good enough to beat UNC week 1 in Charlotte or play 4 quarters with Georgia and Athens. But I think this is going to be a huge game to show people that we're an even better team at home and at night. And we have another chance to, I'll take any type of win, but also like we have a chance to be dominant at home at night. So it'll be really interesting to see if we can do that. And Spencer Rattler can have another big game coming off of what he did last year and his last time at Willie B.
That's a great point you make, man.
Yeah, man, that's
yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't.
No, I was going to say that's a great point you make, man. The first SEC game, obviously, back in Willie B since that game. So I think obviously we saw what the crowd did in that one, and I think that's why there'll be such a big factor in this game. But to your point about the offense, I mean, it's about making week-to-week adjustments, and I think if the Gamecocks think they can just roll out there with the same exact game plan they had against Georgia, Zach Arnett and company aren't going to be fooled. So they're going to have to make an adjustment. I would agree with you. I'd like to see South Carolina try to take the top off early and push the ball down the field, give guys like Xavier Legette a shot to make a big play. And I wouldn't be surprised if we If we saw Nicholas Harbor in this football game, give him some opportunities. And, I think working in the passing game in that way, it's, again, going to be the way to operate and have big-time success. So I'm excited for it, and also getting the tight ends more involved. Like, I think the passing game obviously is the way to go and the way to win in this football game. So, but you got to make adjustments. You can't go same game plan week to week, because Mississippi State's going to be banking on the fact that you're going to try to supplement the running game with a quick passing game. And, it is a game of adjustments. Our good friend Jake Crain was discussing earlier in the show. So I would agree with you, man. I'm curious. It's going to be a very interesting chess match between Dabble Loggins and Zach Arnett for sure.
Yes, sir, definitely. I believe they're going to give us chances, and as simple as it sounds, I think it's going to come down to just keeping them off balance vertically. Those screen passes and those quick routes are good and all, but don't be afraid to take a deep shot early in the game just because people are saying you're supposed to start with the quick stuff and then take the shots later in the game. I think Tennessee is a great example of that, because just the whole night, I mean, the further we get away from that game, the more looking back on it is just amazing how that whole night we just picked them apart. And it doesn't have to be deep shots, but like quick outs, slants, pitches, digs, like all types of little stuff that Mississippi State in their zone, they're going to have to pick somebody, and somebody's going to be open pretty much every time. It's just a matter of Rattler being able to throw the ball. But yeah, this weekend should be a really fun one for us and for college football in general. So y'all enjoy. You enjoy yourself, Chris. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the call, my dude. Really good stuff.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, take care. Great stuff there. Dabble Loggins agent. How about it? Rebecca says, trying to call in for good luck. If I don't call in, we lose. Rebecca, you called in last week and we lost. You called in last week and we lost. I think you said it was Will's fault, though. So. Shillen says, what's amazing about DK is how we changed his body over the last year to look more like a running back. Yeah, I mean, he did everything he could, man, but the bottom line is this. It's showing, I tried to tell people all offseason, like, there's more to playing running back than just being an athlete, because if that was the case, like, it wouldn't be that big of a deal and everybody could do it. Let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Rebecca.
Rebecca, what's going on? You're on the air.
I was wanting to say go Gamecocks, beat the other team.
Beat the other team.
Now I can't remember the team right off the bat because I ain't been feeling good. I'm sorry for not thinking of the team's name now.
It's Mississippi State.
Yeah. Go Gamecocks, beat Mississippi State. There you go. If I didn't call in,
and hopefully we don't have Will jinxing the call this week.
He's not around.
Okay. Is everything okay? He's not around?
He's not around the phone, so.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
Because you don't want him to jinx it.
I don't want to jinx it. You are right.
Well, I reckon I'll get off of here. I just wanted to call in before we, I didn't want to make us lose the game without me calling.
I'd hate to see that as well, Rebecca. It's a lock now. Gamecocks will get a big dub tomorrow night.
So, what time does it start?
7:30 kickoff. 7:30 Eastern time.
All right. Well, thank you for understanding that I'm not feeling that good.
You're totally fine, Rebecca. I totally understand. Hope you feel better. And again, I appreciate you calling in.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Great stuff. Great stuff, Rebecca. And what a way to end the show and end the Q&A Power Hour segment of TDC. Either way, guys, again, thank you all so much for the continued love at sport, man. Thank you all for understanding as we do things to improve and enhance the show, and we continue to evolve and make decisions. And you guys are there every step of the way. So I cannot say thank you enough. Again, truly appreciative of the love, the support that we feel each and every single day. Guys, that being said, again, make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube, hit that bell icon so you get notifications when we go live, when we drop new video content as well. It helps boost the show tremendously. Also, do so because don't forget, we're going back starting actually tomorrow with the post-game call-in show. We're going back to just YouTube. So folks on Facebook and Twitter, make sure you are subscribed on YouTube. That is where you can find us from here on out. Also, of course, the podcast drops daily, guys. iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure you check us out there. Guys, again, thank you all so much. Appreciate you all tuning in. Gamecocks beat Mississippi State. And we will talk to you all tomorrow night after the game.